God, Alzheimer's has hit me. What you asked me about Rob Zombie's movie. Well, I would say nice things about him, but we did this. I thought it was going to be a real cool deal for the History Channel, Biography Channel, whatever that is. They were going to do about Halloween. I thought, ooh, that's pretty cool. Until I noticed that they did one on Caddyshack. And I thought, wow, what is this? Anyway, they interviewed him on that biography and channel, and he lied about me. He said I was very cold to him when he told me I was going to, and that he was going to make it. Nothing could be further from the truth. I said, make it your own movie, man. This is yours now. Don't worry about me. I was incredibly supportive. Why that piece of shit lied, I don't know.
It's funny, if I cross my eyes, it looks like you have a halo. There's a little light behind you. Oh, it's the headphones. It creates like a classic painting, circular halo.
That's what I was going
you.
for. I've been reading about art lately, and I'm trying to get this like halo angel-like.
I figured that was it.
Yeah, no, you saw.
I saw you trying on the angel wings when you're trying on the different shirts and stuff. Might have been a bit much.
It's like the losing my religion video, like the guy
in the corner
with the wings. It's Michael Stipe sings a song about nothing.
You're looking at him, you're like, no, not tonight.
I don't want to talk about Halloween. I'm Chad. I'm here with my co-host Chad. We're here to discuss. Oh, damn it! Hold on, my camera went out of focus. You piece of shit! You
like lean forward.
I know. You lying piece of shit. We're gonna discuss in this episode, after episode 1, to keep our Halloween narrative going. We're going to discuss Rob Zombie's 2007 remake of Halloween, which I don't even know who released this. Was this Warner Brothers?
This was Dimension, I believe.
Dimension, that's correct.
You remember they had that like 2000s era, like the text came across the screen like a sweep almost, which is a cool logo.
It looks like a logo that would be there for the Stab movies from the Scream franchise.
What's really funny is that it's like the hypest moment of the whole fucking movie. Like that's the tip of the iceberg. That's a tit of the iceberg there.
Rob Zombie.
That's as good as it gets.
Rob Zombie Stab 4. So I think the way to start with this one is, I think it should be a build-up thing to like, how did we get here in 2007, right? So like, how did Rob Zombie go from the white zombie guy, his popularity that extended into the 2000s? I'm sure you had this too. A lot of my friends were big Rob Zombie fans. That genre of music was very popular in the 2000s.
I thought he was an actual zombie. Heard about in elementary school, and I was like, dumb. I'm not joking.
We have Rob Zombie here today, and he walks out. He's a fucking zombie, but he has the beard and everything in there. Hey, you fucking kids.
When you're 8, you don't know better.
I wish he was a zombie.
That'd actually be cool.
So then he transitioned into a filmmaker, and then he got to the point where he got the big job. He got to remake, because now in the context of like them remaking, it'd be different, because now there's the David Gordon Green movies, and they were big. They the first one especially was a big hit. So it's weird to go back to like the Blumhouse era of remakes, like Friday the 13th, and I also don't think horror was.
That's the Platinum Dunes era.
Yeah, and I also don't think that Platinum Dunes, and I don't think that horror was like half as popular financially as it's been this last decade. It's like
it's had a huge resurgence in pop, and I don't think it's come back in quality. I think it's still in the shitter. But back then, people forget French horror was blossoming at that point. A lot of foreign horror and indie horror, stuff like Hatchet and Behind the Mask, Ty West stuff was really coming into fruition. Anchor Bay era. The boutique DVD releases was just kicking off. So there's a lot to be excited about, except for American mainstream horror movies.
Yeah, I mean, I will say that, like, nowadays, I don't think the stuff's good, but I will say like this James Wan, even though he was part of that era with Saw. I mean, I think he kind of kicked.
Yeah.
I think he laid the groundwork for like Rob Zombie types and Eli Roth types. Um,
Mhm.
but
Geraldine Boosman with the later ones playing the metal music over people getting
yeah,
tortured. In the style, like, for real, it really did, like, popularize that aesthetic.
well, the Hot Topic era of horror,
Yeah.
because now it's like the James Wan Blumhouse aesthetic, or like how Get Out looks and stuff.
Yeah.
Like that's the modern horror movie look, where they look like really low budget indie movies with
Mhm.
no. I'd say they try to look more like art house films now, like the It Follows aesthetic. They don't try to look like horror
Yeah.
movies.
Well,
Um,
it's funny, they're not artistic enough to be qualify as art house movies, but they're not scary enough to qualify as proper horror movies. So it's this weird, confused, half-hearted effort to
yeah.
accomplish anything.
But we're in like the Stranger Things era, it and that sort of stuff. Where
Yeah.
this was a different era, totally. Like the David Gordon Green Halloween is a representation. It's an art house director. It's got a certain aesthetic to it. And it was a huge hit. Where like this movie made $80 million in 2007. That movie made $250 million in 2018. So that just showed like we're in a different place. Like
Yeah.
back in these days, these movies didn't make like $200 million, and they weren't
One thing I
produced to
have to
make that kind
say,
of money either.
in light of mentioning Green's Halloween 2018, I've seen it twice. The first time I was pretty disappointed, but I wasn't interested. I just was not I just didn't want to see Laurie Strode back or that story. I just thought it was silly seeing Grandma fight Michael Myers. But I actually liked that part of the movie shockingly and didn't like the teenage parts. And then I rewatched it after seeing clips from Rob Zombie's movies and some of the later sequels. And I was like, no, I underrated this and I overrated the original Halloween sequels. And then having seen Zombies Halloween again, I'm like, wow, 2018 is a real return to, like, it really vindicates Carpenter's original and the 2018 sequel.
Yeah, I agree. Well, when sometimes you have to take a step back and realize how bad most of the Halloween franchise is.
Yeah, they're just enjoyable because you watch them on TV so much as a kid.
Like
And I love those movies, but they're not good
yeah, I
movies.
would argue like Nightmare on Elm Street and Friday the 13th are much more consistent franchises, movie to movie
Yes.
for the most part. Where Halloween is like there's the original, and then there's interesting things that happen, and then there's stuff that are pieces of shit that are just terrible movies, like F
Mhm.
tier movies. And it's also a confusing like franchise, like the way
Oh,
Michael
yeah,
Myers
the different
mythology.
timelines,
Yeah, it's just in
Halloween 3.
well, even resetting it like the 2018 Halloween, it's like okay, no sequel exists except
Yeah.
except there's Halloween 1, and this movie's also called Halloween. It's not called Halloween something, like there's Halloween
I wish it
Kills.
was called Halloween 2018. I think would have been the best title because there's a Halloween every year, so it would make sense. And you just lean into that. It's kind of a meta thing.
So let's go down this path. This is what happened. So
Yes.
Rob Zombie's blowing up, and I was a kid who grew up in Texas, and I was a nerdy kind of outsider. So the kids that I had to unfortunately relate to were like the goth and metalhead kids. So that was,
Mhm.
the drinking coffee at Perkins at 1 in the morning crowd. Basically the kids from South Park. Um, and so a lot of my friends were, they had the goat beards and like, they wore chain
Yeah.
pants and everything. They all loved Rom Zombie. So I can't remember what year it came out, but my sister was into this stuff, and they all kept telling me that House of a Thousand Corpses was amazing. I kept hearing that across
The
the board.
scariest movie ever.
Yeah, that it was amazing. So my sister owned it on DVD, and I watched it one night, and it was fucking horrible. Like just a terrible. It looks like
It's a tone deaf mess. It's like an Eli
a
Roth movie, but with neon lights.
well, it looks like a cheap haunted house to me too. It has that like when you
Yeah.
go to like a scare house, like those terrible haunted
Yeah.
houses that try to be edgy and have no atmosphere because of it. It like sucks out atmosphere because it's all like this was also like the My Chemical Romance there. It was just a different
Yeah.
it was
Well,
a lot of faux culture aesthetics and movements. I don't think they were real. I think they were marketed. I think they were sold.
yeah.
Um
Well, I think with that era too, I think it's a movie made for, like, 12-year-old goth people.
totally.
And yeah, I can't even imagine watching it as an adult to the end.
No.
Like, I'd probably turn it off 20 minutes in.
No,
I don't think I could deal
because
with it.
everyone in my circle was like telling me it was fucking great, and I'm like, all right, cool. Like,
Mhm.
he'd never made a movie. I wasn't judging. I was like, cool, Rob Zombie. And yeah, I mean, I think that's a terrible movie. I hated everything about it, like no question. So then a few years later, Devil's Rejects comes out, and I'm hearing the same shit again from the same people.
Mhm.
That this is great. Even critically, it was getting decent reviews, like kind of mixed reviews. But the first movie, like House of Thousand Corpses, got terrible reviews. And the Devil's Rejects,
Mhm.
like Ebert and Roper gave it thumbs up, and it did well at the box office. So that one was another one that somebody brought over on DVD, and this is back when like a friend would come over and you'd pop a DVD in your like desktop computer and set in your bedroom, or like put it in your PlayStation 2 and watch a movie with your friend. Um, and I think I had the feeling that a lot of
I remember
people.
we got it. My dad's house where I watched it got it, and Netflix mailed the DVD in the sleeve to give it like a time frame.
That was, man, I that's how I first saw The Sopranos the whole way through, because I used to watch it like Bravo was like
Oh, that's really
I'd get
funny.
those Netflix envelopes, and it would be like 3
Yeah,
discs, and I would just like watch them, like I'd watch them all in one day and then watch them all again the next day before I had to send it back, and then I'd get the next disc, stuff
you
like
have to
that.
wait for the queue sometimes. Just like you have to wait 2 weeks before this one's
That
available.
seems crazy now to not just like stream
Yeah,
The Sopranos.
I'm so impatient. Like if I had to wait 1 day to watch a movie, I'd be throwing a fit.
So I think I had the feeling at the time that I think a lot of people had, is that Devil's Rejects is a shockingly good. I don't want to say a good horror
Yeah.
film. I don't think it's a horror film.
I see it as a genre film, but I see it more as like exploitation, an ode to that.
I
Really
agree.
like Mad Max or something. I would compare it to more so than Halloween.
Well, to me, it always felt like a film that I like wish Robert Rodriguez would have made, but his films were always disappointing. Like,
That's a good comparison. It's very Robert
but
Rodriguez. It's filthier.
it's like Robert Rodriguez, but like, yeah, like it has the acting and kind of plotting you wish his movies had usually, because he's not a very good
Yeah.
storyteller. Um, I mean, I don't want to focus this on Devil's Rejects too much, so we can get into Halloween '07, but because we'll probably never do But I want to say, I mean, I haven't seen it in
Yeah.
years, but so I'm going off memory mostly, and I know amongst a lot of fans, because it really did put Rob Zombie on the map in the horror community.
It's the only reason he has a career
It is because it. I want to
as a
say I want
filmmaker.
to say that before we attack him or anything, you got to give credit where it's due. That's a
Yeah.
genuinely good movie, and I think the most shocking thing about it for me isn't really his directing. It's the characterization and acting. I think is some of the best of the 2000s when it comes to genre film. I think like Bill
Yeah.
Moseley and even Sherry Moon Zombie. I mean, even her performance.
In that one role.
Yeah, I mean, I we talked about it the other day. The scene where they have the family at the motel, and
What's it, Brian Posehn? Isn't he
yeah,
one of the hostages?
and she's doing that thing like kiss my ass, shoot me in the ass, and they go to dig the graves, and he says he's like Willy Wonka and Jesus Christ and all that. I think that's like one of the great like exploitation thriller scenes. I mean, like that's like people talk about No Country for Old Men in these other movies, and I'm like, that's one of the most tense sequences from that decade by far. That whole like 20
Yeah.
minutes.
And also seeing like murder and that kind of talk, like a Charles Manson type speech before watching someone dig their own grave, is unnerving, especially back then. It really wasn't like horror movies now are a lot grislier.
Mhm.
We're more desensitized as a culture to violence than I think we were then. Or that kind of like the true crime trend is huge right now. That wasn't as much of a thing
We're
back
almost
then.
fetishistic about like that stuff now. Like you want to watch that
Yeah.
stuff, yeah.
Yeah, it really was a transgressive movie where it was like a mainstream resurgence of these exploitation low budget movies. And I'm glad you brought up Devil's Rejects and we dwelled on it a little bit because I think there is a direct line between that film's success and this film's failure. And I apologize. I think it goes back even to his failure with House of a Thousand Corpses. I think Rob Zombie wanted to be Quentin Tarantino with House of a Thousand Corpses and failed. Then I think that with Devil's Rejects, he actually kind of pulled it off.
I think
You could say it's luck or talent
I
or
think
whatever
the
you want to say, but it
dialogue too.
worked.
I think the dialogue
Mm. Exactly. The tone
it's
shifts,
very Tarantino. I mean, when I'm talking
humor.
about the speech where he's like, I'm Jesus Christ, and that's a great. I mean,
Tutti
people.
Fruckin' Fruity is like that is a Tarantino
Well,
scene.
Ebert's review, if you go watch the Ebert and Roper review, the first thing he says when they go out of like the part where they talk about it with clips, he looks over at Roper and he says, "There's really good acting in this movie." And that's what shocked me because in the first movie, they're supporting characters, and I thought none of it really worked. And then in that movie, it's almost like that Tim Burton thing where you can see what his interests are. Like he prefers the Joker as a monster to Batman as a character.
Yeah,
So when he
exactly.
makes Ed Wood and it's about these freaks making a bad movie, that's his best film because that's what he understands. So in Devil's
Right.
Rejects, him focusing on people that would be Rob Zombie fans, I would say, and that kind of
Mhm.
aesthetic, he clearly understands it on some level, and I think that's
Is
where a
it?
lot of the humor comes from too in the dialogue. I think it's probably conversations he would have with friends of
Yeah,
his, and where House of the Corpses, I think he was trying to make like a horror movie, and he was trying to be clever, and then Devil's
yeah.
Rejects, I think is just more authentic.
I
That's why it
think after
works.
Devil's Rejects, everybody was like, "Damn, dude, you're like Tarantino," and he believed it. So when he went to Halloween, he's like, "I'm fucking Tarantino. I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna make, these musical choices." I mean, I
What?
texted to you. It's funny. It has a good soundtrack if you listen
Do you
to
have
it
some cum
as a
stuck in your
CD.
throat? What's going on?
Yes.
Oh, my bad.
So
Sorry,
the
Chad.
soundtrack, if you just listen to it, it would be good. But then listening to it in the context of the movie, it's just tasteless and horrible. It's like the Suicide Squad, the original one, where it's playing all these good songs just like randomly. Halloween 2007 is the same philosophy, where it's like,
Right.
yeah, add that classic rock track. Why not put Don't Fear the Reaper 3 times?
It's like a Scorsese movie with Gimme Shelter. It's like, here we go again.
Yeah.
Jack Nicholson's about to say the N word. I like your thing that you said there about the Tarantino thing though, like that he bought the hype because he was in that community then. Like Tarantino, I know like
Yeah.
Devil's Rejects.
Once
Uh
again, Eli Roth.
he
He's a very similar filmmaker.
Well, Grindhouse. They both do
Yes.
trailers for that. And Rob
Mhm.
Zombie does Werewolf Women of the USSR. Eli Roth does Thanksgiving. So that lets you know that they were like, hey, you're with us. Robert Rodriguez
Mhm.
and Tarantino are like, you guys can be in this group now, which means that also kind of sold it too. Like, because
Yeah.
people don't get now because I think Rob Zombie's career is like totally dead and he's like a meme filmmaker. Like everyone makes fun of his Monsters trailer. But at the time before this came out, he was like there was legitimate hype
There
around
was
him
hope.
of him as a filmmaker. Like he had become a respected director.
Yeah, well, it was like he had like an instant hit called classic. Like as soon as it dropped, it was like Devil's Rejects is going to be one of the movies of the decade that people look back on. It was just immediately certified, and I think we just had trust. And I remember I didn't want a Halloween remake. I was even more against the remakes than I am now back then. But I thought, well, Rob Zombie's making it. He just made Devil's Rejects. I'm curious to see what he brings to the table. I know he's a big fan, and he brought a lot to the table. A lot of shit.
Yeah. It's a table covered in shit. It's the Pan's Labyrinth scene with the guy, but it's all shit. And they're like, don't eat the shit, Ophelia. It's like, oh,
And
because
Rob Zombie is that man.
yeah, he's chasing her as white zombie music is playing. It's like this though.
Yeah,
He's right.
of course it is.
Yeah.
And there's a weird graffiti on the wall. It's just swear
Yeah.
words because that's scary or
It says
something. I don't
cunt
know.
on a wall somewhere.
It's a
What's
Rob
fun?
Zombie movie. Just
Wait,
accept it.
well, there's a funny. You pointed out a thing about how she has cunt on the wall in the one Halloween movie. I remember one time in
Yeah.
the bar here, the town I'm in. I won't name it, but you went to college here, and I went to a bar down the road, and they had an art display one night, and it was like the first year I moved
Mhm.
here, and one of the art pieces. This just sums it up well. It was like a bunch of trash bags put up on a wall, and it was a piece of paper in the middle, and in the white paper it said in marker "cunt."
That's awesome.
That's what it was. And you're like in a bar drinking. You're like, I really like this. This explores the duality of man.
You're swishing around the Budweiser. I get notes of light beer,
the white, the white trash art
percent
gallery.
alcohol.
You're watching. You're looking at Rob Zombie artwork. You're serving your Budweiser.
Die Hard 3 is playing on the TV.
Because it wouldn't be a Michelob Ultra. You wouldn't have that with
No,
not with
no,
Rob
that's
Zombie.
disgusting with
Yeah.
Rob Zombie.
Yeah, no,
no.
there's a certain.
You don't do Bud Light with Rob Zombie either.
That's true. It's
I feel
Budweiser.
like if you spilled your Bud Light on Rob Zombie, he would melt like the Wicked Witch of the West. And all that would be left would be like teared jeans on the floor and like a leather jacket.
So he got this job. It the trailer, I remember, like, there was hype. Like, I remember seeing it in the theater, and it was still back when trailers had like a voiceover. And I remember the guy at the voice when Michael pulls the person through the door, and it's like Halloween, and it would come
Well,
up,
real
and
quick,
it's like 2007.
there's two things I want to bring up immediately. The first is that speaking of voiceover, they do like timestamps throughout the movie where it's like a title card and say like, you know, Halloween 1977 or whatever, and that's fine, whatever. But there's one that's so funny and just like trick or treat in all caps, and it's like, what the fuck is this? What's the point of this slide? And also, I just love that you're discussing Rob Zombie gaining ascent as a director, as though you're a historian, tracking like the ascent of Adolf Hitler. Where it's like he got this job, people had a lot of hope. It was a depressing time for the genre, and we're just gonna play out what happened.
That is how it is. Like, they're like, this guy's giving pretty good speeches. You know, he's charismatic. You know, he's got something about him.
Look at the style, the facial hair thing. Oh, damn it!
That's like killed. You're like, oh shit. Well, we're in this far.
So yeah, just want to like get into the movie.
I agree. Rob Zombie fans should be compared to the Nazi Party. I think that's very accurate.
Well, that'd be so you like lose your job for being a Rob Zombie fan. They're posting green frogs
they
on the
cancel
internet.
everyone else. Like, they cancel you for being like white and all this stuff. Or like, can we cancel Rob Zombie fans? Like, that's a movement I would support. Like, you're at work in an interview and he's like, all right, question 4 here. Are you a fan of Rob Zombie or any of his work? No. I don't know. There's a post here from 2008 on your IMDb account that is talking about Witches of Salem and Lords of Salem. What the fuck?
Well, I just love the idea. Who cares? It doesn't. He doesn't know the name of that movie. But I love the idea of like talking head types like Jordan Peterson defending Rob Zombie.
Yeah.
The thing with Jordan Peterson, or the thing with Rob Zombie, is he takes the Lords of Chaos and he brings order by editing and through his script.
I swear to God, I feel like you just at dinner with him and you talk about like, yeah, I had a rough day at work today, and it's like no one knows the struggles.
The thing with the shift
when you deal with the fire,
the bloody overtime. That's what gets you, man. It's no damn joke.
Remember Jordan Peterson seemed like this interesting, funny dude? Now it's clear he's crazy. He's clearly a crazy guy. Like, there's no question. He's giving you advice on how to improve your life, and he's clearly insane.
And what sucked for me is like I enjoyed him not for the political takes, but he had long videos about like the Book of Genesis and Nietzsche and all that. And I wouldn't
the Disney stuff too. He would do like Pinocchio.
Oh yeah, I didn't see those, but I've seen the video. You know, the thumbnails. And like I hate this thing. You have to agree with everything someone says to like listen to them at all.
Yeah.
And so I'll do the obvious pussy thing. I don't agree with everything he said, but it was an interesting perspective to listen to at the time. And then he blew up and became like the guy where it's like, you're either watch Ghostbusters 2016 or you like Jordan Peterson. Those are your two options.
Well, it's like Ben Shapiro, you know, when it was like fun to watch him debate college kids on YouTube. And then he became like a celebrity.
The thing with Jordan Peterson, it's so tragic, is he's clearly not fit for celebrity. He's not fit for fame. No. And I think it broke something in him because I think as a college professor with like a little bit of fame, I think he really enjoyed that. And once he became like mainstream, all that, I think he can handle being on Joe Rogan. He seems comfortable there, but like any other time, he's just.
I think Rogan creates that environment, you know? Like it's like
I
a
think
safe space for you to like do that stuff.
He had some personal tragedy stuff too with his wife, and then I think it's an opioid addiction. I
Mhm.
might be wrong, but he was addicted to some benzos, I think it was.
Yeah.
And like that's fucked up. Like that's a serious thing. Whether you agree with someone's political takes or not, like you should have sympathy for that. But he's clearly not fit for the spotlight. And I almost think it's in bad taste or irresponsible to interview him when he's bawling about fucking dirty bedrooms and shit. Like it's just insane.
So anyway, back to Rob Zombie's Halloween.
Yes.
Uh, but the enough foreplay. The idea is that he had become a very respected filmmaker at the time. He had a huge fan base. There was like there was girls liked him. Guys like Sherry Moon Zombie had become a thing. She had a fan. A lot of guys were into her. I remember everyone goes, "He's
Hmm.
got the hottest fucking wife." It is weird watching a
Yeah.
filmmaker sexualize his wife so much on
Oh,
camera.
it's so cocky.
Yeah,
I don't mean cucky's like caca. I mean cuckoldy.
yeah.
Like I want men to ogle my, and it's like my wife stripping in front of a man, and you see that shot, and then there's like some redneck like
Look at my
at the
wife's
strip club.
ass.
Yeah, and then like in the new movies, like what's your take on the Munsters if you would sell this movie? I want it to be about my wife falling in love with another man. That is my movie idea.
Is Herman Monsters black? It's just a black guy. You're a monster, Herman. Yo,
In
what's
bed.
up? We the fucking monsters.
I would watch that.
Oh,
I would
yeah.
watch Tyler Perry's The Munsters.
Me too. Yeah, him playing Herman Monster like Medea. Like, yeah, I would watch the fuck out
Yeah.
of that movie. So then the movie comes out, has a good opening weekend, and I go to see it in the theater. I guess we get to that next. The first time you saw this movie, I saw it in the theater with a group of friends, and it was fucking horrible. Immediately,
Yeah.
like the opening scene, I didn't like, and it was one of those movies where you're like trying to stick with it. I'm like, well,
Oh yeah, and the movie.
Malcolm McDowell's gonna be in this more. That'll be good. I had hope because at the time he was my Robert Englund, like how Robert Englund was
Yeah.
like for me, I was such a big Malcolm McDowell fan because of A Clockwork Orange as a teenager. I like bought all these Malcolm McDowell movies, these Lindsay Anderson films like If or Oh Lucky Man, Britannica
Mhm.
Hospital. I got Caligula on DVD because
Fright Night.
yeah. But I got all these Malcolm McDowell movies, and then I was like, oh, he's great. And I didn't realize because I just discovered him. I didn't know he had a career of like 20 years of being in shitty movies and being like a
Yeah.
has-been who was known for being in A Clockwork Orange. Because if you go back to his 70s movies, it's not that way. Like Time After Time, he's in all these really good movies. Uh,
Yeah.
so I was like, oh
Well,
my,
it felt like a comeback though, because like
yes,
Bill Moseley was one of those guys with Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2, which I'm sorry is not a classic movie.
no,
Sid Haig, who the fuck was he before those movies? And as far as mainstream opinion goes, you know.
yeah.
So you thought that Rob Zombie was going to pull a Tarantino and give this career resurgence to Malcolm McDowell?
That's exactly how it felt at the time. Yeah, it felt like okay, Malcolm and Brad Dourif was in it. So
Yeah.
it was that way. It was like, okay, he's doing like Tarantino, but for horror movies. He's gonna get these guys because Brad Dourif was always
Mhm.
got an Oscar nomination for One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. He's like a great actor that kind of got subjugated for being this like horror genre guy. Even though his performance as Chucky
Yeah.
is amazing, his performance in Exorcist 3 is spontaneous
Even in the
combustion.
X-Files.
Yeah, great. Like never not seen Brad Dourif not be great. Honestly, for the most part, he's like a legitimately
Yeah.
really good actor.
I actually really like him in Dune even. Like in that small weird role. He adds so much to the movie.
So
So
so there was that feeling at the time, and the movie was fucking horrible. Um, I hated the first half, and then the second half I thought was going to improve.
well, that is something to clarify is that the movie isn't one bad movie, it's two
Super.
shitty short films.
Yes.
It's the worst of both cases. It's a bad remake and a bad prequel.
Yeah, it's a bad original Rob Zombie film, and then it's a bad remake of
Yes.
Halloween in the second half. Is how I would, and that's how I felt at the time. I was like, okay, that first half sucked. Now we're in Haddonfield. Maybe we'll, and then it's like
Yeah.
he does the worst possible remake of Halloween in the second
It's
half.
so funny.
And then you're like, "Oh shit, I wish you would've I'm kinda missing that ugly kid beating a guy with the fucking stick. Can we bring his ass back into the movie?" Like, somehow
It's so
he turned into a wrestler.
No, it's so
And
funny.
he's
He
a
doesn't
ch
look like He might be the worst Michael Myers. I don't want to blame the actor because it's bad casting, but he has no presence. Well, we'll get to that later, but he has no presence. He's
I,
not Michael
I'm
Myers in any
insulted by you
way.
saying he might be the worst Michael Myers. He's definitely the worst Michael Myers. It's like, so okay,
The other ones are at least forgettable. Yeah, the first time I saw it, I actually went to the theater as well to see it with some friends. My mom, my dad, or my stepmom, my dad, and I don't know, maybe a stepbrother, sister, I don't remember. And I remember I was excited to see it, same reasons. And just seeing a horror film on the big screen was really exciting back then. Especially, I think I was like 13
it
roughly
was
when
a
this one came
different
out.
time going to movies and seeing horror movies.
It was magical.
Yeah,
And
like when I saw the Texas Chainsaw remake as a teenager, it was like the hype.
yeah, so I went and I was excited. It was a big thing. Like I was waiting all week to go see it through school. And then Friday again, I was like, I'm going to see the movie tonight. And it was immediately like the wind just came out from under me. I remember there was a scene, I'll never forget it. This was like maybe the scene that broke me. And when people wonder why I'm so cynical on movies, this is like my villain origin story is seeing Michael Myers as some I don't want to make fun of the kid's appearance. Michael Myers not cast as a kid that I would expect to be Michael Myers, who I don't think is particularly a great actor. In a Kiss t-shirt crying as his mother strips to it's not Every Rose Has Its Thorn, is it? No, Love Hurts. It may as well be Every Rose Has Its Thorn. I just remember walking to the bathroom and going to the urinal, and I was like, as I was pissing, I was like, I don't want to go back in. And then I was just looking at my penis freshly emptied at the urinal. I was like, I'm enjoying looking at this more than the movie. And it didn't get any
Oh,
better. It was
Kino.
it was just a 2-hour spanking.
They're like, man, our Chad's been in the bathroom a while. Hope he's okay. They come in, you're in the stall crying.
They have to convince me to come out.
Love hurts. Love. Yeah. Hey,
I know it doesn't. I know your shit doesn't take that long.
Are you in there, buddy? Leave me alone.
Maybe it'll get better. Come on.
Hey, it's like Austin Powers. Come on, buddy. We can get through this. Let's beat this turd.
So, yeah, the movie begins in the most Rob Zombie way possible, with just rednecks
of course
being foul.
That's what got me the first time was that it's rednecks.
It's
that the
it's
Myers
like,
family is fucking rednecks immediately that he
yes.
did that. It's insane.
What's the laziest? It demystifies Michael Myers. Explaining why he became evil is antithetical to the appeal entirely. In the original film, he was listed as the Shape, the most like amorphous, non-specific thing. And Rob was like, I'm going to humanize him, which is I give this movie a pass for a long time. When I got older, because I was like, well, Rob Zombie tried something and failed, but at least it wasn't a soulless cash grab remake. But honestly, what he did is so bad, I might even prefer a soulless cash grab remake.
I agree. I think it would have been better had this just been like a generic remake of Halloween and just read.
On the flip side, we wouldn't be talking about it if it was. You just forget about it.
That is true.
What's the funny origin of even us talking about this too is that a year ago, I was at Walmart and I saw it was at the $3 movie bin. I saw it, and I had owned it in high school because I heard the director's cut was better, and it was even worse than the theatrical cut, which is funny.
Yeah.
Which we can get into later. But I saw the movie for $3 in the bin, and something in me, because I was going through this thing with adaptations, like book adaptations or remakes, where I was like, it's not about what I expect having seen the original movie. I was more interested in the director's unique vision and trying to be more open-minded to that. So I was revisiting some of those movies that maybe I wasn't as open-minded about when they came out. And I thought maybe this will be one that isn't perfect, but I might appreciate in some way. And I started it and I turned it off immediately. It was god-awful. And then we were talking about movies to review. And I think it was honestly God's plan for us to discuss watching this. I think that's why he planted that seed in my mind to waste $3 on this movie I could have spent on a Mountain Dew. I think there's something truly divine happening that resulted in us having this discussion.
No, God's not dead, for sure. I was gonna pull the DVD out. I forgot where I put it back on the shelf. I was gonna pull it out and like show this because I always laugh the poster. It looks like Kaiser Sose in the fire in Usual Suspects when he's walking. It's like, The greatest trick Rob Zombie ever pulled was convincing people he was a good filmmaker. So it's kind of um yeah, let's just go through the movie. Let's just go through the whole fucking thing. So
Yeah.
I got the Wikipedia plot outline, and unfortunately it's a little too abbreviated. It just says
Unfortunately, it's only one sentence. Michael Myers kills people after a shitty childhood.
It says in Halloween in Haddonfield, Illinois, having already exhibited signs of psychopathic tendencies, 10-year-old Michael Myers murders a school bully, his older sister Judith, her boyfriend Steve Haley, and his mother's abusive boyfriend Ronnie White. I love that it sums that all up in like a paragraph, like it's 5 minutes of the movie.
Yeah, no, it's like 30 minutes roughly.
It's like
Maybe 20.
It's
20, we'll say.
It's an extent like. Well, here's the deal. Like, let's just start the comparisons, right? So, John Carpenter's Halloween starts with the tracking shot, Michael killing
It's
his
a
sister,
minute long.
and then the camera pans out, and he's just this suburban blonde kid that lives in a
Yes.
normal thing, and you're immediately thinking, "Why did this happen? How did this happen?"
And it's shocking to see. You see it first person, so when it reveals a child, it's shocking. Like, wow, a kid did this. And back in the 70s, that's fucking crazy.
It's disorienting too. Like,
Yeah.
it because even the shot, I always think of the shot pulling away of his face at the
It's
end.
like a Dario Argento
Yeah.
type scene with the knife.
So to go from that, and that's all you get to till we jump to like the mental hospital and the car escape and all that stuff. To go from that to like a 25-minute opening where yeah, he has a stripper mom, he has this abusive stepfather. He like
They're all incestuous. Michael Myers, like, he touches his sister's thigh after she has sex with the boyfriend, who I'm shocked even has a last name, to be honest. The stepdad says something about the daughter having a nice ass like her mom, and it's just skanky.
well,
It's just
it's like the
trashy
stuff I
in a
didn't
bad
like
way.
about the background, like the rednecks in House of a Thousand Corpses. When I first
Yeah,
saw
but
that movie,
worse.
I agree. It is worse. Well, because that
It's
movie,
even worse
it's these
somehow.
teenagers go, and then you're like, okay, they meet these rednecks. So is this going to be like Texas Chainsaw or Deliverance or something?
Exactly.
And this movie, to make them the protagonists, and that the main character in it is Michael Myers, which I also think hurts the movie story wise because it's so long before you get to like Laurie Strode and her friends. You're
And then you
basically
spend too long with her. You're sick of her
yeah.
first scene.
Well, you don't know what you're watching. You're watching a Michael Myers movie, then it feels like it's a Dr. Loomis movie, which I think would have been the correct decision. If
Yeah.
you were going to do a prequel, it should be the first 20 minutes is Dr. Loomis, and then about 20 minutes in, they bring Michael Myers to his place. I think that would be a much more exciting
Yeah.
opening to this. Like because we want to. That's the problem with the original. I'd say is there's like 30 minutes where Loomis is just fucking with some kids behind some bushes, and
Yeah.
he's the most interesting part.
Well,
I would have
picture
liked to
this.
have seen like him working and doing his job, and then at some point they're like, "Hey, this kid, he killed his sister. We're bringing him in," and he meets Michael Myers. I think it would be an exciting moment too if it was done that
Treat it like
way.
The Exorcist, essentially.
You build up to it.
And, well, shit. This movie fucking. I was gonna do a joke, but I'll just do it. It starts with Dr. Loomis behind the bushes with scaring Lonnie. It's like, you're probably wondering how I got here. Like, we'll take it back to the beginning. It's him in med school. Like, not that far.
The
And it's
Grease,
him. I met him.
the Grease theme song comes on, like the Grease
Yeah,
is the word is the. It turns into an animated sequence, like a 70s like thing like that in transition. It's like 6 months earlier.
Oh, right. I remember the point I was going to make now. Bringing up how long it takes to establish Michael killing his sister at the beginning of the movie, it shows. And I rewatched Halloween recently, right before Kills came out. I watched that in 2018 in
Right.
preparation to see Kills in theaters. In the first film, I mean, honestly, it's such ingenuity and it's such efficient filmmaking. Every shot is perfect in terms of communication, establishment, setting the locations from one house to the other across the street and then the other house. Like, it's really great mapping out. It's great filmmaking, and it's so efficient compared to 20 minutes of setting up Michael Myers, and you get less out of it substantially.
Yeah,
Yes, it's more dialogue.
virtuosity in the
Yeah, and even
original one.
later on, with Laurie and Annie going from house to house, you don't even really know the context of where these houses are. You
Yeah.
just kind of see them going into one and then into the other. But yeah, I made a ton of notes in the first one with that opening. See, this is one of the first lines, and there's a line like that was really contrived about skull fucking, which I don't think was a thing in the '70s. I don't think people said skull fucking in the '70s. I think Rob Zombie says it in 2007, so therefore he made his character say it. And then there's a part about Michael's sister, who, the first victim, someone that should be sympathetic to some degree. Michael kills one of his pet rats, and says something about him stroking it too hard and makes a jerking off motion. For some reason, every girl in this movie, all teenagers talk about is sex, which is inaccurate. I was a teenager. It was 90% of what teenagers talk about, not 100. But every girl, all they say is just, "You fucking whore, you cunt. Do you want to fuck me
That
in my
blew me
cunt?"
away because we're not at that part yet. But when I first saw this movie, and because we used to talk about it, because that dialogue with Laurie and her friends in the original is like one of the most realistic scenes in.
Lori's one of the most realistic teenagers I think I've seen in a movie, to be
Well,
honest.
the three of them walking and talking, that scene feels almost too real. It's almost boring. It's like being in real life. Like
Yeah.
it's got nothing. There's not actually like movie dialogue to it. They're having
What
a
also
very
has like
normal.
Jaws POV thing where you feel like you're stalking the girls,
Yeah.
which is great.
But then when I saw this, what shocked me immediately is when the girls come in and she's like, "You fucking slut, you whore, you cunt," and they're just talking it because this is my thing. Most women, if they're saying that about women, they're saying it as a negative and talking shit about a woman. Like it'd be a girl hanging out with their friend and saying, "Lisa's a bitch, she's a whore." It wouldn't be you calling your
Yeah.
friend a slut to her face
And
or
it's
a
not
cunt.
every single thing out of your
Well,
mouth.
I want to know these chicks that
It's
this
insane.
Rob Zombie world where like teenage girls are calling each other cunt all the time. Like I don't think that was in any decade.
No.
It's like
I've said it
Trainspotting.
before. I've said it before. This is my theory. I think that Rob Zombie married the first woman he ever spoke to. She was Sherry Moon Zombie. And so he thinks that every woman talks as the only woman he's ever spoken to talks. Because every character in this movie talks like Sherry Moon Zombie would talk in one of his movies.
She's like a
And
she's like a cringy Harley Quinn-esque figure.
yes.
I would say like that was the persona they had and why they also became so popular as a couple with like a certain fan base. It was very similar to that Joker Harley Quinn fetish.
Yeah. It was like it's a infantilized vulgarity.
Mm-hmm.
So and it's one of my favorite hack jokes. Like, and those are the good guys. Those are the people you're supposed to root for, the people you're supposed to worry about their well-being. Will they live to call their friends a slut again?
Well, the thing that's in the opening, right? The first like 20 minutes is like, so let's not do the
We have to
correct.
talk about the branch.
Well, we
We
well
have to
well the
talk about the
corrective
twig.
yeah, the stick is like the corrective like where I'm like, hey, just make a Loomis movie or even a television show. Like I think like Jude Law's
Yeah.
Dr. Loomis in an HBO show, I'd watch the fuck out of it, right? Um,
Mhm.
but like let's say you wanted to do Michael Myers, like that's what Rob Zombie wanted to do. He wanted to do an origin story of Michael
Yeah,
Myers.
you're married to that concept.
He did the worst possible version of that. Like
Every step of the way.
you want to make him like he's a Midwestern redneck kid with a shitty stepdad. All the dialogue's cringe. It's all this weird edgy shit. Him wearing the kisser, like he, because if I think it would have been more fucked up if Michael had been a normal kid for that 20 minutes, who had a normal, like if
Yes.
it was more like ET or
Or if it
some
was
shit.
even, we need to talk about Kevin. If his family was like fairly normal, not perfect,
But like
but
John
pretty
C.
normal.
John C. Riley as the dad, and that like in that
Yeah, very
movie.
working class,
Yeah.
normal. You could even maybe the dad drinks a bit too much, so he's not as attentive at night and leaves a knife out or some stupid movie shit, whatever. But instead, they're all just the devil's rejects. They're all psychopaths. They're all incestuous. It's all the family from
Well,
Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
well, that's the thing. If because that's the thing, if you're gonna be married to that, right? Well, then like almost like the Back to the Future scene at the house where the Crispin Glover and her at the beginning, like they're having a family
Mm,
dinner. They're middle class. Michael's just this kid. He's quiet, maybe, and you kind of develop the
yeah,
family, and you do that and he goes to school and he's shy. Maybe he doesn't talk to a girl that he likes, and then like about 15, 20 minutes in, the parents leave one night, and you're like, oh, okay, now we're in Halloween, and it's kind of a different perspective. I think that would have. been okay too, because it would have kept some like there's an evil there that's festering and the family isn't aware of it, you know?
Yes. Well, just like a mental illness, just like
Yeah, he's
Boy Interrupted is a horrifying documentary about a kid who was self-harming, and I hope I'm saying the right I could just be mistaking two documents because there's so many about like messed up kids.
yeah.
But one of them is about a boy who I think had bipolar disease or he had some mental issue, and he eventually hurt himself. And it's a family going through the trauma and recognizing the steps. You could take a page out of something like that, how a family didn't have the mental health awareness in the 70s to recognize these things, or how they're good people, but they weren't prepared for evil incarnate to be born into their home, like The Omen.
That's what I was thinking when
Honestly,
you brought up we need to talk about Kevin of the Omen, like, I think that because I've seen movies do it, there is a way to do, like, the evil kid lives with the family and is kind of becoming disassociated, and then
yes.
slowly it builds, and if he did that, I think that would have also been fine, but that's, like, a sophisticated version of
Honestly, I
this.
think I had this in my notes too because I bring up plot holes in the movie, which are all in the second half. Not that the first one is structurally sound, but I think that we're overcomplicating a Rob Zombie movie, like breaking it apart to some degree. I truly think this film is a masterclass in failure. I think if you took everything that he did and did the opposite, you'd probably have a great movie just by doing the exact opposite of everything that he does.
I love you in a suit. It's like you have a PowerPoint presentation. You're like, "All right, this is my thesis on it."
Seven steps to a good Halloween remake.
Okay, Rob Zombie's first scene. Do the opposite. It's the George Costanza thing, doing the opposite of your like when you direct a movie, just think, okay, what would Rob Zombie do? And then do the opposite decision off what you know he would do, and you're probably gonna make a good movie.
That is exactly what I'm saying.
Well, I was trying to find this here because I think this would so we can get to the stick. Because I had a thing I had a thing here.
Well, I want to give a bit of a prelude to the stick as you're scrolling, then, if that's
Yeah,
okay.
yeah. You talk because there's a quote Rob Zombie has
Yeah.
about why he did what he did. I think it's very funny, and it would be
Oh,
funny to break.
he thinks he can explain it.
Yeah, but you say what you need to say.
Yes, because it is an important scene in the context of the film. Because this is you have to think about historically, because this is a reintroduction to the character Michael Myers. It's kind of retconning what originally happened. So this is Michael Myers, as far as we know, his first human kill. He kills animals in the movie and stuff, and his mom's like, "So what?" Because it's a Rob Zombie movie. That's just normal in this world, apparently. But this is the first time you see him kill a human. He's being bullied by two kids who, of course, talk just like everyone else. The bullies just do it 1% meaner. They talk basically the same as everybody else, but they're a little more aggressive about it. And so Michael follows one of the kids into the woods, and you see his first kill, which leads to the infamous stick.
The when I saw this in the theater, and it stayed with me for 15 years now. I think about it. So I'm walking
It's
down this.
haunted me.
You know, like you sometimes you walk down the street and there's the fall leaves because we live in the Midwest, even though they shot the original
Mhm.
Halloween in California. But it's sort of like Nightmare on Elm Street too. It's supposed to take place in
Yeah, the palm
Ohio. Yeah,
trees.
and they're in palm trees. Like, where the fuck is this in Ohio? But we're Midwesterners, you know. So like
Yeah.
sometimes you're walking and sometimes you get that atmosphere of like, oh, and you think about the old Halloween. There's sometimes I'm
Yeah.
walking and I evoke and I think of the stick scene and I just start laughing because he has these bullies, and there's the main bully kid. And I would say this is very ripped off from Stephen King, for sure, is where the inspiration of this came from.
Yeah.
And he's like waiting behind a tree with a stick, and the kid walks out and he like hits him in the back. I mean, there could be a sound
Real quick,
effect.
I have to pause you.
There could be a sound
The
effect like
stick.
boing.
Bonk.
Like a Batman thing, like wow.
And then
Yeah.
like clapping like he hit it out of the park. The stick, though, we have to discuss the dimensions of this stick to truly get to the root of what makes it so silly. Is that Dag Farge, I think his name is, the kid playing young Michael Myers. He's wearing a Kiss shirt, which is not relevant to the scene, but it is ridiculous.
Yeah.
I just have to remind the audience of that every so many minutes. He's tiny. He's a little guy, and
Yeah.
he's holding a
He's a
stick
he's
that
a
is
little guy.
He's holding a stick that is size appropriate, that would be very large for a little person. He's not holding a log. This isn't Arnie carrying a fucking tree that you could make sense of.
Yes.
This is a stick like you might pick up from your backyard as you're raking leaves.
I might add a picture of it in post just so people can see like what we're talking about, because it's literally like a stick.
It's laughable.
It's not.
We were making a movie. It's the stick we would just find. Like, well, this is good enough.
Like, it's not he's picking up, like a baseball bat,
exactly
a knife, maybe, something.
Let's not get too creative.
Yeah, like
Michael Myers' first kill with a knife.
Yeah, like a switchblade.
What's next? Is he gonna strangle somebody?
A switchblade or something. It's like a stick, like if you were fucking around with your friend, like fake sword fighting.
What about a bag that you might catch leaves with?
It's the American Beauty bag. He strangles him.
And then it blows away elegantly in the wind.
Yeah, the music kicks in after he chokes him to death.
Just like my hopes for the movie, just blowing away with the scene.
Ricky Fitz is watching it on a couch, and he's like, "This is after Michael killed a bully of his with a stick." So yeah, you're right. You're right. That's what needs to be discussed. That because I'm describing it, and it sounds like he's walking out with like
a log,
a giant log, and he's holding it like a lumberman. And he's like, hey, bro. and just
clobbers him.
He's just flat.
Little pancake with shoes, and he walks a little bit like Crash Bandicoot when he gets smashed.
Whoa. But
if only the kid had a tiki mask.
But he hits the kid in the back. So what would happen is obviously the bigger kid who's older would get up, grab the stick, and then shove it up Michael Myers' ass or something. He would beat the fuck out.
That's what I would do.
He'd beat the fuck out of him.
When I was a kid.
He hits him with the stick, though, and the kid's like, first he's like, oh, I'm going to kill you. And then Michael keeps hitting him, and then the kid starts to realize he's dying. And he's like,
you summed it up so well.
I'm really sorry.
Where you said after he gets hit once, it's as though Michael broke his back. Yeah. He's like kind of crawling as though he's incapacitated. Yeah. And it's not a hard hit. You don't hear anything noise.
Well, I'm sorry. There's no way this kid's strong enough to do that. Like, if he was the adult Michael Myers in this movie and he hit you with something, it probably would hurt.
I understand that it's not the same standard. There's different body types. I'm a hunk. I'm just going to state the obvious. But if this kid was hitting me with a stick for an hour, it would start to annoy me. I wouldn't immediately fall over and then have to crawl as though I was shot in the kneecap. And that's what happens.
Hell yeah, brother.
Like, I would be like, honestly, if Michael Myers hit me with a stick and he was that little kid, I'd be like, fuck this guy.
Well, yeah, no, that's because I think we were talking about this last night when he gets hit. It's like he's broken from getting hit by a stick once, and then he's just like cowering in fear. Like
it's like Michael Myers is like a level 70 imp. And this bully's like a level 1 bully just entering the forest for the first time, and he just one hit KO'd.
But when Michael rose on the die, like it's like 22, and it's like perfect hit.
It's miraculous.
Perfect kill. The DM's like, God damn it.
On a serious note, it really does bother me too, other than the entire scene. The fact that, so we established Michael, he loves masks. His stepdad's like, why do you like those masks? What are you, some fucking cunt? His dad's played by Louis C.K.
You fucking stupid cunt.
I'm gonna fuck your mom.
I'm gonna jack off in front of your fucking mom. Sky Cycles in the soundtrack. He's wearing a Sky Cycle shirt.
That would be A+, better than the original.
He hits him with the stick. It's terror time again. He hits him and then you're and the kid's like, no.
So Michael not wearing the mask in the scene of his first kill, I do think is an important detail. It's not a nitpick because it's established that is his alter ego. That's his safety thing. Why wouldn't he bring a mask to hit this kid?
That's a great point. Yeah.
It's just another misstep in this. It's like if there was a map. The original Halloween is a map of how to successfully do this movie, and then Rob Zombie's like way out here. He's in a different continent and where he should be making this fucking movie.
Well, the thing with the stick thing is like, what got me the first time I saw it, because I know what he's trying to evoke in the scene. The feeling, right, is that it's supposed to be shocking that moment that Michael keeps going. It's supposed to be like almost like a Revenge of the Nerds thing. and then it's supposed to accelerate to the point where it's like just fucked up. He's trying to be exploitive.
Yeah, like the
That's
first hit, you're supposed to be kind of cheering him on,
exactly. And then when you
and then it
realize
goes too far.
he's taking it too far. But yeah, I'm sorry. It's just I don't think you could kill a kid bigger than you like that with a fucking stick.
Well,
I'm
I have to
sorry.
state the obvious. Wouldn't the stick break?
Yeah. Or it would well, it would bounce. It would well, the thing is, like, it's not a solid object, right? So, like, it would bend with the hits,
Yeah.
like, if it was a baseball bat and you hit down, like, the pressure of that would hit you,
To be fair,
but the stick
we
would
don't
be
know
like
how long. How long Michael's I'm gonna call him Mikey as he's a kid from
wouldn't it
now
be
on. We don't know
great
how long Mikey is hitting him with the stick.
wouldn't
It
it
could have been all night.
wouldn't it be great if it said, like, 3 hours later,
Exactly.
and it's just like he's getting tired, like and the dude's like, "Will you stop fucking hitting me with the stick already?" Like, god damn. I've been humoring you for a long time, pal. You're a jerk.
We don't actually see the kid die.
You're a
It
jerk,
would be
Mike.
oh, maybe we do actually. I was gonna say maybe he just gets up from it.
Yeah, there's the camera pans away, and then
The
the
deleted
the
scene.
dude just gets off and wipes leaves off of himself. Like, that was weird.
He's like, "Damn, that was slightly annoying."
That was mildly
That's really inconvenient.
that was mildly inconvenient. When that little person was hitting me with the stick, when that little troll was trying to kill me with the stick.
He's actually a good guy, and he's like, I took one for the team, but I think that little boy really feels better about
You know what would
himself
make
now.
that scene better is if
I'm proud of
he
him.
came out with the stick and he went to go beat him, and it was realistic, and the dude just grabbed it and was like, "You fucking retard," and throws it away and just starts pounding him, and then he goes
Yeah.
and gets a knife or something and then kills the kid.
Or better yet, what if he does that? He gets beaten up by the kid, and this would actually be a risk, like a real risk, not the calculated risks in the movie that fail anyways. If he gets beaten up by the kid, he fails to hit the kid with the stick, and then he takes that rage home with him to
Right.
kill his family.
Right. Yeah, if the bully is yeah, I agree to get him to the point of killing the family. Yeah. Well, it's I, I mean, I just can't get over it all these years later still that he beats someone to death with a stick. It's like the Rob Zombie red because I think what he was trying to do, I think there was this kid who took another kid out in the woods at the time that had killed the kid with the stick or something.
It's possible.
I remember there was a story like that, but I believe in that story he like impaled the kid with the stick.
Yeah, I mean, there's ways I could imagine someone dying via stick. It's not this stick as an idea, even though it's a bad idea for this particular
Yeah,
movie and
he's
scene.
got the whiteboard and he's writing out
But they've
every
got the worst
scene, and
stick.
he's like got the weapons option. It's like when Bruce Willis in Pulp Fiction is picking this stuff, and like one of them's a stick, and he
Yeah.
circles that one. He's like,
I was thinking about I was driving today, and I was just at a stop sign, and I was thinking like to Rob Zombie in my head. I was like, "This is your idea. You thought this in your brain. That's what you're capable of. That's like you using your mind to its fullest extent, and that's the product of your mental labor." Is Michael Myers hitting a kid with this pathetic twig?
I will say though, it's funny. Like in a comedy
Yeah, no,
movie,
it's hysterical.
in a comedy movie,
If it was a parody of Halloween, it'd be brilliant.
like it's like the unintentional comedy because I don't think this movie has a lot of it. I think most of it's cringe and not funny.
It's just abrasive and annoying.
That's genuinely funny.
I just want a one-liner. I just want like,
Yeah.
I gotta stick it to you.
No, it would be great. Yeah, it's really we want the like cartoony version with Loomis talking to the camera and Michael like their sound effects and then he's saying one-liners. Like it's just an all-out. Yeah, if he like was parodying the idea of making a remake of Halloween, and it was
Like,
it was absurd. It was like Escape from L.A.
or even I want to say Von Trier's, which is really funny. Van Zandt's remake of Psycho. Like, I don't enjoy that movie. It's worthless. But that's kind of the metatextual narrative of it. Is it how do you remake Psycho? So it's a funny exercise to read about in film, and it's a bad movie.
No, I love it. I love in Van Zandt's remake though when Norman Bates goes into the shower and kills her with the stick. I thought that was an interesting.
It was an inspired change. It's a 2-hour scene.
He's like, oh my god.
I mean, ultimately, the thing with the stick is that I think it was a bad idea.
We're talking about it like it's like alive. Like it's like the like the stick. Like Listen, this like it's Wilson or something, like he keeps it
It's the
with him
most compelling
when he goes to
character in the
when he goes
movie.
to the mental hospital, he's petting the stick, like it's his
It's
friend.
Plank from Ed, Edd, and Eddie.
Danny Trejo's like, don't take a stick away from Mikey. Don't fuck with his shit. Hey, we're taking a break from our show real quick to talk about our sponsor for this week, dicksgettingbig.com. That's right, for only 4 easy payments of $199.95, you can have a giant penis that'll impress all your bros and all the babes in town.
Daycare's over, motherfucker.
So go over to dicksgettingbig.com/chadsauce. Thank you. Now back to the show.
Yeah, let's just talk about Danny Trejo because he is so funny.
I want to do this Rob Zombie quote, and then we can't because Danny Trejo's my
Oh,
next thing.
yes.
Okay, so this is Zombie's explanation because I was trying to figure out last night, why did he do Redneck Michael Myers? What's the motivation?
I'm surprised you got that far. My question is why.
Yeah,
it's as far as
why
I
did
can
you
get.
even go there? Okay, so Zombie's intention was to reinvent Michael Myers because he felt the character, along with Freddy Krueger, Jason Voorhees, and Pinhead, had become more familiar to audiences and as a result less scary. I don't agree with that. I get what he's saying in the context that they became more humorous, but I think all of those characters could easily be scary.
Well, I mean, not that many years before, I think it was 2004, Freddy versus Jason came out. And that was a goofy movie. It's a blockbuster, so to speak, more than a splasher. But I think Freddy is scarier in it than he was in years. I think Jason's more intimidating physically, or as physically intimidating as he ever was.
The cornfield scene with Jason.
Exactly.
He's just like,
I've had too much Everclear, man.
Everclear's fucking me up, man.
Oh, that's it.
And yeah, he goes out and he's just slashing people and like new metal's playing. No, I agree with you though. Freddy there's genuinely some of the
opening scene is creepy.
It's probably the best Freddy had been, I think, in years, even more than New Nightmare or anything. I think the opening montage is a reintroduction to Freddy. Well, Freddy's a killer again in that movie. Like even with the pinball stuff, like he wants,
it's a balance. It's a very well balanced
kill
movie.
These fucking kids. Like,
and he's just not. He's having a very hard time with it.
That's what I always loved about that movie. It's like Freddy's the main character, and he brings this guy out, and he's like, "God damn it, Jason, quit fucking this up."
Oh, it's so good, but that's another episode.
So okay, Zombie explained that he wanted Michael to be true to what a psychopath really is, and wanted the mask to be a way for Michael to hide. He also wanted the young Michael to have charisma. Well, where the fuck was that? Which would be projected onto adult Michael. In addition, he decided that Michael's motives for returning to Haddonfield would be more ambiguous, explaining, was he trying to kill Laurie or just find her because he loves her?
Real quick, I have to say two things. That first is it reminds me of another Rob Zombie quote I pulled up in preparation for the movie. Let me find it. Duh, I don't know. I'm fucking stupid. It was the one that he said in an interview with Rolling Stone. And also speaking of the Laurie thing, I don't understand that what the movie's trying to tell us with that, because so she walks up to the house as she's bullying this kid she babysits. She randomly bullies a kid, and then sometimes she's nice. It's just very convenient. She's not a character. She just does what the scene needs her to do contextually.
She's a very unlikable, unsympathetic character. That's like a huge issue with Laurie Strode in the movie, is you don't like her. I wouldn't care if Michael killed her in this movie.
No, not at all. So he first sees her. She puts mail in the house for her dad's real estate, just like the original movie. And then Michael sniffs the mail, which is so funny to see Michael Myers with his mask sniffing mail. And I think a Sister Mail would be a pretty cool band name. But that's all you know that he knows about her, because he hasn't seen her since she was a baby. His picture of her is as a baby. But yet he sees her put the mail up the house. So you think, okay, it's coincidence. What do you know? It's movie magic. It happened. Just go with it. And then later, when she's in the house, he hands her a photograph of them as babies.
Right.
Or, well, him as a child holding her as a baby. So he knows that she's baby Myers. How does he know this?
Well, it feels
similarly,
I thought the director's cut, what people were telling me about it, would have some of those things that weren't, like, I thought there would be more Dr. Loomis and those things would be fleshed out. And it's like most director's cuts where it's just like a marketing thing.
That was the true awakening with rewatching this movie. Is I used to think this was a bad movie with promising aspects to it or good moments, and now I realize it is just an abomination.
Every scene's bad. There isn't a good scene.
Yes.
Like that's the
I'm not even joking. There is not a good moment in this
a thing that
movie.
stood out to me early in 07, and we that is
Actually, I do like the gun dealer scene. I don't know why. I just like that guy.
yeah. But a thing that stood out to me that really hit me in the theater when I realized how bad this was going to be, just like when I was like, because I was a film buff as a teenager and I was starting to get more like picky or noticing writing mistakes in movies more.
When you mean film buff, you mean you were a buff person into films.
Yeah, exactly.
Just to clarify,
I was like,
you were Chad then,
I had
and
like
Chad now.
like film reels on the end of a barbell. You know, and I was adding add some Fellini.
Lifting Fellini.
Yeah. Some Fellini.
That is so funny. We both immediately go
Yeah.
for Frederick Fellini.
Well, I mean, what's a funnier name?
It is true.
It's the funniest name of all time. But early on, so there's a sequence early on that's so telegraphed where the guards at the mental place or the janitors or whatever, they go into Danny Trejo's in it. And it's a thing. I swear, it's like I feel like Robert Rodriguez should have made this movie now in retrospect, just thinking about it. But where he's like, "Hey, don't touch his mask. Don't fuck with him, okay?" So it sets up just that one time. These two have no relationship. It's
Yeah.
just one scene.
Might be the director's cut has another scene where he talks to him. He's like, "Hang in there, Mikey.
Yeah.
You have to look past the walls."
Yeah.
But that's it.
They're clearly establishing that this guy is nice to him. So I knew immediately in the theater
He's gonna die.
he's gonna kill this guy. And I thought, you know what, that's okay. You're setting it up, but maybe it'll just be a brutal scene where he stabs him or something, you know, and it'll be kind of fucked up, which it should, because that's what the David Gordon
Yeah.
Green one got right that I think most of the sequels don't get, is the lingering of a kill
Yeah.
is what makes Halloween impactful. It's the guy up on the wall. It's how long Michael's in the sheet when he goes back to the room and goes to the bed, how long that lasts.
Speaking of all that, this film tries to do that in a different way. And this isn't a joke. This is like a valid point where Michael will injure someone typically by stabbing them, and then they'll crawl bloody on the floor. They're injured. Even the stick causes someone to crawl injured. And then he repeatedly stabs them or bludgeons them or whatever he may do to kill them. And it's so repetitive and it sucks. The kills in this movie suck, and that is a major fault in a slasher movie.
Well, the thing is, I don't like that he's like that it's a physical thing. Like he just runs through walls and stuff. Like it's that kind of, you know, because I'm not that kind
No,
of thing.
it's
That
insane.
can work, like a Hulk type thing can work.
Mhm.
Like I remember the Friday 13th remake.
Jason doing it would be badass.
They had Jason do stuff like that in the Friday 13th remake. That first 20-minute prologue, and he's underground, which is the best part of that movie. It works. It makes sense. You're like, Jason has supernatural.
Exactly. And his hulking presence, that's a part of Jason. It always has been.
Yeah, it was always played by a stuntman. So it's okay, the idea of him like running through walls and stuff. But
I'm just going to say it. If we were playing Jason in a movie, like it was like 2 stuntmen instead of 1, there'd be no survivors. Like I think we'd crush it.
Well, I like to bring back the stick thing. If Michael still had it, so when he goes back to Haddonfield, like he just uses the stick to kill Laurie and her friends. Like it's just like he just keeps. Even at the end, she has a stick with the last shot. She's like, ah.
In a world with no weapons.
Was that the stick, man? Yes, I do believe it was.
That scene where he says that and then she immediately gets pulled out of the car is so funny. And I never realized this, but it makes it so hard because Malcolm McDowell's reaction is as though somebody stepped on his foot. He's like, what the hell?
I think they didn't tell him. I think Rob Zombie pulled her out of the car, and then Malcolm McDowell was like, I worked with Kubrick. What?
I think Grandpa's meds were just kicking in and he was just kind of zonked.
But the Danny Trejo thing, I thought, so to go back to the lingering thing, right? I would think he gets like stabbed and then the knife stays in him a minute and you just kind of slowly watch him die, and maybe Michael turns his head and looks at him. And maybe he's trying to kind of touch the mask and his hand falls down. That's what you would think. But instead, he goes in and Michael starts to kill him and he starts yelling, I was good to you, Mikey. Mikey, I was your friend.
It's so funny.
After they telegraph it.
I'm the only nice guy in the movie, Mikey.
After they show you scenes of him doing this, they have him say it.
It also makes it even fun because there's that meme of that like drug addict trying to get in the house, like, "Come on, Mikey!" And I just hear that when he's pleading with Mikey in the movie.
So I hate this. I just read on Wikipedia. It says Quentin Tarantino claims to have disliked the film when first viewing it in the theater, but grew to appreciate it for Harris and Faucher, the kid. I don't know how to say his last
Oh
name.
yeah, I don't know how to say his name either.
Yeah, for Farch's performances and Zombie's Sam Peckinpah aesthetic. That's one of those terrible Tarantino takes. It's like both of those performances are awful. You pick the
Mhm.
two of the worst performances, and I get the Sam Peckinpah thing. I get what he's trying to say, but like, dude, this
Yes.
ain't Straw Dogs. Like, what are we
No, and I
talking?
actually think it's funny in the remake portion, just for a bit, he tries to trick you into thinking it'll be like Carpenter's, where the cinematography gets a little bit more methodical and less modern. And it abandons that once the killing starts, which is fine. I'd rather do its own thing aesthetically than be a shitty John Carpenter. But that is the thing, is that him trying to do John Carpenter, like David Gordon Green does a pretty decent John Carpenter. Rob Zombie does not.
Yeah, exactly. As an well, I remember the feeling at the time. It was reminding me of because I think in their head they thought this was gonna be like because of the Rob Zombie fan. Because really after this, his career fell off, like Halloween 2,
Mhm.
and that like he went from like he was a big director to like he was back to
It's
being.
amazing he even got a sequel.
But I remember at the time there was this I think they were thinking in their head that like, this is gonna be a big hit and people are gonna like me. And it reminds me of like the Darren Lynn Bousman and Repo the Genetic Opera, and I had a bunch of people who love
Mhm.
that, and he intentionally was trying to make the next Rocky Horror Picture Show, and it 2 years later, nobody talks about the movie anymore. Like, I think me just saying it right now,
Yeah.
like some Jumanji game just activated somewhere, it's like, "Oh, somebody said Repo the Genetic Opera." Um, and it was the same kind of thing, that, like, aesthetic of that time, and
Yeah.
and I think they didn't see how dated that was gonna be, or, like, the people who were into it grew out of it.
Well, that is what was so mortifying seeing this movie and remember seeing it in theaters vividly. Something like Toy Story 2, I saw in theaters. It might have been the first film I saw in theaters, even. I don't remember that well. Phantom Menace, I remember hardly. Was another one of the first ones. But this one, I specifically remember the emotions, everything vividly. And obviously, not one of the first movies I remember seeing in theaters, but something I remember seeing at that age. And it looks so dated now. It looks like an old movie and it just made me feel
No,
old.
it looks more dated than the original film does,
Yes, it does.
which is insane. It makes no sense that a movie that was made 30 years later, now you watch it and you're like, "Oh, this is an old movie. This is embarrassing." And then the old one's
Yeah,
timeless, you know?
exactly.
So let's talk about Malcolm McDowell's Dr. Loomis and when he comes into the movie, in that whole stretch at the mental hospitals. So there's the scene at the table with him and Michael. There's sessions. There's a series of sessions with like a tape recorder, I believe. Um, and he's talking to Michael, and this might have been one of those things you said earlier, where you said like, I remember there being good elements, and I thought in my head those were the best
Yeah,
parts. And you rewatch it, and
that was the highlight for me.
those are all terrible too.
It's just screenwriting 101, like
Yes.
the most cliche therapist psychopath type stuff. And I just want to say this at this point in the movie, Michael Myers is making his own masks. His cell wall is decorated masks. And to me, it feels more like a Corey Taylor origin story than a Michael Myers origin story.
Corey, listen, you can't do these things anymore. And then he puts the mask on and then he starts Slipknot. He goes back
I'm putting together a team.
to Danny Trejo's at Slipknot with I, that's the greatest. You just like a Corey, like this is a Corey Taylor origin story. Is it
That's how it
like
feels.
Corey Taylor's Michael Myers? Even the hair.
If we would have gotten a Halloween 3, it probably would have
I mean,
happened.
this is the thing I've always seen equivalents to this as a failure and that kind of thing is Nostalgia Critics The Wall. It's like same energy as this.
Actually, yeah, it is like that level of cringe, that level of
Yeah.
failure.
And just the Corey Taylor factor being like random.
Oh,
And it's like,
they both have Corey Taylor in them.
why did you think this with Pink Floyd The Wall? Why did you think Corey Taylor? It's like, why did you think this with Michael Myers in this universe? Why did you think like
Corey
this
Taylor.
kind of heavy metal, edgy 2000s Halloween store look you thought was like the way to go with this franchise?
Again, we have to keep in mind that yes, Rob Zombie has that aesthetic. You would expect that from his music, but in interviews like the Halloween 20 Years Later documentary, he's in it. He makes great points. It's funny. He seems like a horror fan. He seems like he gets it in
He's on
interviews.
the
So you
Bravo
expect
100 Scariest Movie Moments too. They're
yes,
at that too, and he says it's kind of like Eli Roth though, where like he talks in interviews and he's on point, and then
yeah.
every movie he makes is terrible, and you're like,
Yeah, it's that thing where like a good critic can be a bad artist.
mm-hmm.
And the thing with Rob Zombie is that with him making a movie that back then people probably call a masterpiece, but like I said, called classic, I think is much more accurate. You expect him to just know better. It's shocking just how badly he stumbles
Well, the
every
script
step
the
of the
script
way.
being terrible is one thing, but the lack of restraint in the film is the thing
Yeah.
that always shocked me about it. That it is so, it's like you said, annoying is a great way to describe it. It's like a
Yeah.
headache-inducing, aggressive experience as opposed to like building atmosphere, building tension. He has no interest in building tension. It almost feels like he's trying to make like an action movie at points, especially in the second half.
Yeah.
Because I always said the second half feels like you put the original Halloween in a VCR and hit fast
Put
forward.
on yeah,
Yeah, because it feels like
that is very accurate. That's funny.
the scenes are accelerated. That's how it felt at the time for me. I remember I walked out of the theater and that was the first thing I said because it's like he has the scenes,
Yeah.
but in the old movie it's methodical. Carpenter takes times with those scenes, like
Mhm.
establishing thing. Zombies like the girls are talking, they're talking faster, they're saying cunt. Okay, now we're here. Okay, now Laurie's babysitting. Okay, now the girl's with her boyfriend. Now it's not he kills the guy downstairs and goes up and it's like a long sequence. Now it's like she's dragged across the floor and all cut up and everything like that. Like it's all done. It's almost like he didn't want to remake Halloween, and then in the second half he realized he had to, so he just did it very
And
quickly.
there was allegedly some level of studio interference in this movie. I don't even know if that's true, to be
He
honest.
talks
I
about it
really
in the
wonder if he's just shifting the blame.
he talks about that in the Joe Rogan interview, and I wanted to bring. I'm glad you brought that up. I want to bring that up where I think he tries to blame the movie being terrible on studio meddling, as if the version he was going to make was good, and the
Yeah,
studio
I wonder if
added
they
all
just
the
reeled him back from that.
Well, that's the thing. I don't buy that all this terrible stuff was like they were like have Michael Meyer be this edgy kid who beats a kid with a stick.
Well,
Uh,
it's there's
it's
always those
so
directors
Rob
on Twitter.
Zombie. It's so Rob Zombie too. Like it's his style. It,
They always do that same "my girlfriend goes to another school" bullshit, where it's like, "Nah,
yeah.
dude, if you saw my movie, it'd rock. You love my movie, but that piece of shit, I had nothing to do with it. Honestly, I didn't have final cut. They did it. It's same energy.
Yeah, like there's a 3-hour version of this that's a masterpiece. Because it's like, okay, so the studio made the acting bad, the studio made the dialogue bad, the studio made the editing bad. They like all of those
Yeah.
bad things were all this like the studio cast your wife.
For instance, like Blade Runner is a great example. There was always different cuts of it, and theatrical cut most people don't like with the bad narration and everything. But there was always potential. The individual scenes were good, the atmosphere was good, the acting was good. So as you get these new iterations that eventually inch towards near perfection in the final version, it makes sense. I don't see that even being. I don't see the potential, and even as a
No.
sum of its parts, it does not have the tools to make a good movie. Maybe it's a D. Could maybe build it up that much if I'm being generous, but I doubt it.
So here's some reviews for the movie at the time that I think are pretty on point. Um, so here's it is right here. Nathan Lee of The Village Voice disagreed in part with Hardelub because somebody liked it, feeling that Halloween may have placed too much emphasis on providing sympathy for Michael Myers, but that it succeeded in deepening Carpenter's vision without rooting out its fear. That's weird. Uh,
Yeah, I might have to disagree with that
yeah,
one.
I think that the positive reviews were on top. Let's get to the real critics. Believe that Zombies' remake of Carpenter's Halloween was better than getting another sequel in the long-running franchise. Disagree. It was still not comparable to the 78 original. For Sheck, Zombie replaced Carpenter's building suspense, which made it so brilliant, with graphic violence and extended sequences of nudity He also criticized Malcolm McDowell for lacking intensity that Donald Pleasence brought to Loomis' character. That's an interesting point
Yeah.
because I do think he was trying to do, like, one critic here says Wes Craven, Toby Hooper. I do think in his mind this is more Texas, like his universe is Texas
Yes.
Chainsaw, Last House on the Left, and those are the kind of movies he wants to do. Which I don't know why you would hire him to do Halloween because those are
Well,
counter.
Halloween is even the big franchises. Halloween's the one that makes the least sense with Rob Zombie's sensibilities. I could see Rob Zombie's Friday the 13th maybe being fun. I could see his A Nightmare on Elm Street not being good, but I could see it.
Yeah,
With Freddy being vulgar and all that stuff. I get
yeah.
it.
Freddie was calling people. If Freddie
Halloween,
was calling people cunts and listening to new
yeah,
metal,
Halloween always, and I know the sequels didn't always honor this, but there was always the illusion, at least, even in the worst sequels, of some sophistication. And maybe it's the score, but I always felt like Halloween was a little bit classier than the others. There wasn't as much gore or nudity,
well, it's
even.
always been compared more to a Hitchcock film or even Jaws. Like it's
Yeah,
always been kind of held in that echelon and
even
and respected in that way.
Sam Loomis, the name comes from Psycho. Um, Casting, I can't believe her name. I forgot her name. Jamie Lee Curtis in the
Yeah.
original. It's all going back to Psycho. I want to bring up with this movie, and I want to bring up with you because we've both written at young ages. I feel like this movie was written by a 13-year-old. Like back when I first started writing, I was like, oh well, if characters swear, that's funny, that's irreverent. If there's gore,
The plot twist at the end is like Kid Michael Myers is right. He wrote he like flashes back
yeah.
and he wrote the whole movie out and that's the
That's
ending.
that no, I mean it's literally how it feels where it's like Rob Zombie never grew out of that like 13-year-old phase of thinking that those things equated to good, right? Which is weird because Devil's Rejects does it in a way that feels tasteful. So it's weird that it seemed
I
like for
wonder how
one
much of that
moment
movie
he
was
had it.
improv in retrospect, like where the actors improvising some
Yeah.
of that stuff in Devil's Rejects.
Yeah, I don't know.
You know,
Something had to have
well, you know what I
happened to
mean? Like
keep him
maybe
from
maybe
ruining
they
that
did the
movie.
mise en scene and the blocking, and then they kind of just figured out what they were gonna do as actors, and like were like, okay,
I
I play off you here, and all that sort of stuff. I think
and I wonder too.
that makes sense to me.
Sometimes you just create a perfect storm. Sometimes the artist just has a project that they were born to make, and other ones don't quite come together. And I really wonder if The Devil's Rejects is just that perfect situation for Rob Zombie. Genre, the actors who he clearly works well with, the characters.
Well, it just doesn't happen often. Typically, a filmmaker has like a good first film, and they might like lose quality and then have a bounce back. It's very
Yeah.
rare that someone starts awful, goes up here, and then the rest of their films are like that first film. It's a
Do you
very
think
it's
that
a very odd career. I can't think of many people. It's not like M. Night Shyamalan where it's like, okay, two classics, and then it
do
slowly gets
you
worse.
think because some people get better, you have your first project, it doesn't you learn you learn from your mistakes and you make a better one. Okay, that makes sense. What if he was hit on the head?
With the stick.
It He was walking and a stick fell from a tree and hit him.
It's like a Charlie Brown or something. There's a little bubble, thought bubble, and it's the Halloween remake.
And his wife and Sid Haig are standing over him like, wake the fuck up, you fucking fuck.
Yeah.
And
Wake up, you fucking
he's
asshole.
they're just pouring mountain or not Mountain Dew Monster on him to wake him up. And
Yeah, it's like they get, hold on, I got this. They go, baby, hold on, open your mouth. Uh, uh,
at the end of the movie,
I
instead
have
of
to
pouring
do
Gatorade,
Halloween.
at the end of the shoot, instead of pouring Gatorade on the coach, they pour a cooler full of Monster on the director.
So this says here that Carpenter himself was ambivalent about the film because he doesn't give a shit about anything. And he
Yeah.
talks shit about Zombie, which we're going to put at the beginning of this episode. And then he said later that him and Zombie are on good terms. I'm really interested in those conversations because it's one of those things where Rob Zombie, it's what they all do. It's like that Red Letter Media story where Jay said he was an extra on Nightmare on Elm Street remake and Jackie Earle Haley was outside smoking a cigarette. And he was like, man, I just rewatched the original. That's one of the worst movies I've ever seen. And Jay was like, oh, okay. He's like, "You're playing Freddy Krueger," and
Mhm.
at like Comic Cons, he would talk about it being a classic, probably.
Yeah.
So Rob Zombie being like, "I respected Carpenter," uh, one that comes to mind that we dealt with directly was Spike Lee, which I think we should have a whole episode
Yeah.
dedicated to seeing Spike Lee.
The Spike Lee incident.
Because it was almost like we were in the middle of a Spike Lee film. Like we were two white guys that
Yeah.
accidentally walked into like Malcolm X or something. We're like, oh shit, you know. But
Yeah, it was a very strange experience.
but that was the time. That was when he was remaking Old Boy. And I remember seeing him in
Yeah.
interviews and he kept talking about like, no, the original's a classic. It's a reinterpretation. And then you see it and it's a piece of shit. And Zombie was this big horror fan, and all he talked about was how he respected Carpenter and he was going to collaborate with him. And it was like David Gordon Green, you can feel the difference between the two. Carpenter does the
Yes.
score for the 2018 film. And I
Mhm.
actually think the one track, The Body, when
Yeah.
is one of Carpenter's best tracks, and I mean, I used to listen to that all the
Yeah,
time.
that's one, like, in the montage when he escapes, right?
Yeah, well, it's the one also. It's like the girl realizes he's coming. That one kid's getting on the fence, and it
Okay.
almost sounds like a whale. It's like, "Grrr," and then it does that do 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 do, but it's got the
Mhm.
sound effect, and it's really good. I mean, it really. I'd say, unfortunately, I like that movie, but I'd unfortunately say the best part of that movie is the opening credits. Like
Yes, I have to agree.
that's the
It
moment when
is
the retro
honestly, it
thing.
might be the best opening credits in the franchise, honestly.
That's the
Like,
thing.
that like, the pumpkin reassembling and undecomposing recomposing, I
Because I
guess,
don't like the
is
opening. I
incredible.
don't
It's
like the
brilliant.
opening scene much, where they go and they're all standing there.
Bad.
It doesn't make any sense to me either. I don't know all these like
No.
guy, but the part with the cut though, the cut with the guy holding the mask and he goes Michael, and then it just
Yeah.
cuts into it is so jarring. And then
That opening scene feels the most Blumhouse in the entire movie.
yeah. Oh, that's when I was scared when I first saw them because I wasn't
And
expecting the family stuff with Laurie
I was
Strode.
excited at that point because I was drinking beer and I had Taco Bell on the way. So I was
Yeah.
still excited for the Taco
But
Bell.
that moment that kinda hooked me was him
Yeah, no,
screaming
it's
and the
really
cut
cool.
and the opening credits are lit. What do you think of Force Awakens, how, like, the crawl was hype when you saw it at the time? Like, Luke
Yeah.
Skywalker's missing, and you're like, "Oh,
Well,
shit," and then it's like the
I
movie
also really
starts, and you're
like
like, "Fuck, this sucks."
the podcasters in that movie. I think that they're both, like that actor, he kinda has like a Donald Sutherland type vibe, just in how he looks. And so him holding the mask, yelling that
No, that
line
guy
is hype.
it's unfortunate that guy dies because he's on House of the Dragon now, he plays a Lannister, and I've seen him in a few other things. That guy is really good. Whoever that
Yeah,
actor is, he's like a really good actor, and I like him. Because I also one of my most hated scenes is when Michael follows them and kills them at the gas
the
station.
outhouse or the gas station, yeah,
Yeah,
the
I think
outhouse.
that's a terrible scene too. I hate that scene. But yeah, him
Yeah,
yelling it in the opening credits, but like right there immediately, David Gordon Green clearly has studied Halloween. He clearly gets it. The fact Carpenter's doing the score, it's like reinvention while also paying homage in a very respectful way. You can believe that this is a sequel
yeah,
that takes place 40 years after the original film. It seems like it's in that same universe. And it would look different because the world looks different than it did in 1978. You can accept that.
yeah. I
Right.
reviewed the movie last year, and I said that I love that it's a film that does diversity correctly, I think, where it shows Haddonfield as a more diverse place because it would be, but it never feels too forced where it's like, "Yeah, I'm a black guy in your movie." It's just people.
Well, that black kid's like one of the funniest parts of the movie.
I agree. Some people don't like him, but I actually think he's a highlight. And the moment when Michael Myers comes out, it's like, "Oh shit."
Yeah.
People hate, but it's realistic. That's exactly how someone would react. I love it.
Yeah, no, well, I'm sorry. Anyone who says that Black Kid is never bad in a movie. It's like one of those like 100%
Yeah.
guaranteed things, like G Baby in that movie Hardball with Keanu Reeves, like
Well,
where the kid gets
I
shot and
do
at the end.
have
Like
exception to the rule.
if you put a cute black kid in a movie and you have him saying funny stuff,
Mhm.
it's like a 99% success rate.
Yes. The exception is when they have a little black girl who's brilliant and she's always correcting adults, and for some reason people think that's charming in family
Yeah,
movies.
the sister in
That's the
Stranger
other
Things is
side.
that way. She's like she's smarter and better than everyone, and she's got that attitude where, um, but yeah,
Well, I just love that screenwriters think that's a charming quality. What do people like in a character? How about someone who's always right, doesn't have any struggle, and they're really smarmy to other characters that you were already invested in? Great formula for a likable character.
but his But Zombie's approach, right? He says all that. He talked all that shit about
Yeah.
respect and horror and all that, and then you see the movie, and clearly, like, it is that thing where he's trying to do his own thing, but I find it very. I mean, it's hard to call this pretentious, but it is like I think he liked the smell of his own shit when he made this movie. Is the
I
vibe
think
I
he was
get in
high off his
retrospect.
own supply. The
Yeah,
soundtrack gives me that vibe. Like I said, I think he was told he was Tarantino after Devil's Rejects, and he believed it. I think that is what caused
and
this
I don't
movie.
think he was expecting that. I think he thought at best he might be like this, like, because he was already successful. He wasn't a guy that needed filmmaking to be successful. I'm sure he was already a
Yeah,
millionaire. He was he White Zombie was a big deal, and him as a solo artist. So I think when in House of a Thousand Corpses, which really was more of a DVD movie than anything,
yeah,
I think he probably would have been satisfied with that career. And then I don't think he was expecting Devil's Rejects, even with the Freebird thing, to get that kind of reception where like a lot of people
yeah.
were like, "This is great." You're like Tarantino and stuff. So then I think he thought of himself as just a good filmmaker. I think he didn't even come in with any humility whatsoever.
Mhm.
I
And I do get like Carpenter told him just make it your own. Is zombie side of the story at least. I do get that. I'm gonna make this mine. I can't do the original better than the original, but there's some times when you just shouldn't be yourself.
Well, my question that would be then
And
why do you remake the original in the second half of the movie?
exactly, and I could speculate maybe when he refers to studio meddling,
It's that.
maybe they were like, you have to do that. And I don't want to give him credit or leeway, but I can see that being a factor.
Yeah,
It would have been a bad movie up anyways, but I do wonder about that.
yeah, if he never even wanted to go that direction of it being like the same characters and the night playing out in a similar way. And they were like, "You're not remaking Halloween and not remaking Halloween."
Yeah.
That's like the first note that he got. It's like, "We hired you to remake Halloween." And we've watched some of the dailies, Rob. Because I would say I get why they would be meddling. If I saw that first half of dailies and I was watching there,
I'd be meddling.
I'd be like, "You're fired." Um, I would hire a new
And
director to re-edit this and then just shoot the rest of the movie and not let Zombie be
Rob
on.
Zombie's getting carried away by security on the sound
You
stage.
bitch, you
He's like,
whore.
I would have gotten away with it too if it wasn't for you meddling producers.
Row.
They take his mask off. Hey, it's just a hack.
Who is the hack? Oh, it's Rob Zombie. He's in a zombie costume. Oh, it's
he
Rob
ha-
Zombie, that guy from
he's
that
killing
band.
classic franchises.
Rob Zombie Scooby Doo.
I'm shocked he hasn't been on there yet.
Scooby Doo on Rob Zombie Island.
We do have a theme going with the zombie thing. I didn't notice
they
that.
go they go to the island and like it's all Rob
Everybody
Zombie.
says fuck all the
They're all
time.
rednecks.
They see Sherry Moon's ass for no reason.
Yeah, the chick that Fred likes is Sherry Moon Zombie. Well, let's talk about that. Has that aged well for you? Because I feel differently about it now. The sex appeal and people's feelings towards Sherry Moon Zombie at the time. I don't think that's aged. I'm not saying she's unattractive. I think she's a good looking woman.
Yeah.
But I don't think the hype at the
Well,
time, like dudes I knew, like she was
yeah.
like, and maybe it's because she was kind of low
She was a
key.
waifu
She was low key doing kind of porn. Yeah, that was part of it. Was like she was in her husband's stuff. You could tell she was very supportive of him.
in his horror stuff. She's being like a Harley
I
Quinn.
mean, I think a lot of it was that she acted slutty and sexual in this stuff,
Yeah.
and it was.
I'm sure teenage boys liked that.
But the Shuriman zombie factor, like even being a good actress, I mean, the fact that he cast her as Mike Myers' mom, she commits suicide in this movie.
Yeah, I almost did halfway through the movie too. I see where she's coming from.
Most,
That is right before that scene. I love there's a Christmas scene. And I forget if in my notes or I texted. He's like, a Christmas scene. Just what I want in a fucking Halloween
it's
movie.
it's like Gremlins. Rob
But
Zombie's Gremlins.
well, here us Chads only go for the finest Stacy's. So I don't think it's an insult to say that my ideal waifu is not Sherry Moon Zombie. I'm happy for her and Rob. Uh, Whatever, she's an attractive woman, especially for her age. But I don't know, the fetish isn't there for me. where it's not like I see a shot of her feet in the movie. I'm like, oh my god,
Weaky feet. Yeah, you're good. Well, that's the thing. I
yeah.
never had that with her either. Like, I had people I was obsessed with. They were talking about how hot his wife was, and I guess it was probably just people at the time with that aesthetic. That was the
Just
kind of
horny boys.
girlfriend they wanted with that kind of personality.
Yeah.
And I just don't
But
feel
I
like
want an irritating bitch that keeps saying fuck in my ear and showing her ass to people.
shoot me in the ass.
That is the thing. I forget the Judith Myers, I believe her name is. She commits suicide by shooting her ass. Whatever happened to Michael's mom? She shot herself through the ass.
She shot herself in the ass, Michael. I picture because it's Rob Zombie.
She had one asshole, now she has two.
It's the 70s, and like I Can't Live If Living's Without You's playing, and she puts the gun, I can't stop this feeling, and she sticks it, and then right when she pulls I can't live, and it goes through her asshole, through the mouth.
That would be awesome.
Oh, 10 out of 10. She kills
That's how you fix the movie.
She kills herself with a stick.
Well, even like, can you imagine like a
She's beating
suicide scene where a
herself with this-
guy
she's beating herself
just
with a
shoots himself in the dick, and that's how he kills himself? He just puts the gun down.
Ah!
That's hardcore.
She's beating herself with a stick. She's like, this is taking forever. I'm trying to die. Also, I don't get the situation here, right? So like, you have this abusive guy you're with that you should totally leave. Makes no sense to them.
Yeah.
You're a stripper. Your son kills a few people. You realize, that's right. She goes to
And
visit
really,
him.
they were dead weight.
She goes
That's
to
one thing I want to bring up too.
She
The
goes to
people he
visit him
kills
too, and then he kills another person. Somehow he's able to kill someone
with a
while he's at the hospital.
Yeah.
And then that's when she decides to commit to. So the other murders weren't enough to put you over the edge.
Hey, everyone gets a mulligan.
Like,
we all have moments of weakness.
Your daughter being dead wasn't enough. This random person.
Yeah. I do see what he was trying to do. And here's the thing too, the sister being a total asshole makes you not sympathize with her at all. She had no characterization in the original movie. You didn't need it. A teenage girl dying's horrible. That's enough. But in this one, she's just a jerk. She's unlikable. She's crass.
Well,
she sucks,
we do need to
and
point
I don't
out
like
for the
her.
cast that the Chad in the original one, who just got done fucking her. That's a tragedy.
Yeah. No, rest in peace to a king.
Yeah, I mean, there's worse ways to die, but you imagine, like, just think about this. You're like fucking some hot teenage girl in the 70s. You're just hanging out in the living room, and then your little brother in a clown costume comes and like, you think you turn around.
If I was a teenager, I don't want to agree to something about sex with a teenager.
Yeah, obviously in the context of.
Yes, a woman my age who consented, yes.
But it's almost like that stick thing. Like, if the little kid comes with a knife, I'd be like, oh, you little bastard.
You just punt him.
Yeah, I don't know. Michael Myers as a kid is somehow unbelievably...
You're humping a woman, and all of a sudden you feel something, it hits you in the ass, and you're like, what the heck? Your brother just hit me with a stick.
He's shoving a stick
and you keep going.
He's shoving a stick up my ass. Yeah. It's like,
out the mouth.
It's like
skewer.
Jacob's ladder. She's dancing, and then the demon dick goes through. So he escapes. He goes back to Haddonfield, and we're in the second half of the movie. I have a lot less to say. I guess we'll have to go over your notes. I have a lot less to say about this half because I do think it's just a fast-forwarded, rushed movie, and you don't like any of the characters. There's no There's at least an attempt at characterization in the first half. I'd say there's no characterization in the second half of this movie, except maybe the scene with Michael with the picture, what he's trying to do with that.
Which is dumb as hell. One thing I do want to say, just to wrap up the hospital portion of the movie, is I do get, he was trying to get Judith to be like, oh, my son, maybe he can get better, and then he stops talking, and then he kills someone, and it's clear to her at that point he's unsalvageable. It doesn't make it any less stupid, but I see what he was attempting to do.
Well, that's a lot of this movie, though. You have to do that thing where you're like, I see what you were trying to do.
You do the heavy lifting just to excuse his mistakes.
Yeah, because it's just
that's what he is.
It's just a bad decision. Like, it's the thing where you're like, I see what he's trying to do, but in Inception, that's a bad idea.
I've always said this as of the last year. a film or viewing art, listening to anything, it's a dialogue between audience and artist. And similarly, in many ways, obviously, it's a ensemble kind of thing, but that you're listening to the director speak and you're interacting with his vision, right? And I think Rob Zombie is just a terrible date in this movie. And I would take it a step further, and it's not just a bad date, but really, it becomes where it's not even romantic anymore. It's not about chemistry with the movie or interest. It's now he's a shitty coworker. He's a coworker who doesn't do his job. He fucks things up. So he creates more work for you, the audience. So then you got to do his work for him because he's so fucking incompetent. You have to do the heavy
Yeah,
lifting, even though your shift ended 2 hours ago.
that's dead on. Those are like the worst kind of movies where they're not just like bad, but like you have to do so much work. It's like annoying that you have to do all of these leaps just to make the film bearable or cohesive enough.
By the end
Because
of the movie, I was sweating.
he didn't do like any of his base like he did it. He clearly didn't
Yeah.
like flesh out story beats or logic or any of that stuff or like cause and effect. I mean,
You have to
I'm
start
kind of
like,
confused about this movie because even Devil Rejects is kind of a sloppy film, but it's held together
yeah.
by I think them being on the
It's honestly
run.
saved in the editing. I hate when people say that,
Yeah,
but it's a classic case of a movie that clearly benefits a lot from great
that
editing.
might have been the key to that movie. Is whoever edited. That's a good point. That it was
I
edited very
wonder,
well.
but I'm gonna be embarrassed if it's the same person that did Halloween, so I didn't want to say it.
Well, when you have this footage to work with, what can you do?
Yeah, that's fair.
You know, like with that, like we're talking about the work, like with Devil's Rejects, there may have been a bad movie there, but he saw the good scenes and was like, "Oh, if I edit this way, this could be a good movie." With Halloween,
Yeah.
I don't think there was no way to fix it. You know, it wasn't one of those things. I'm
No.
sure the editor was in there, and Rob's like, "You were supposed to save me again, pal." And he's like, "Rob," like, and then Lords of
It
Salem, and it just keeps going that way. Where he's like,
it
you're supposed to fix this. Remember that time you did this, Rob? I don't think you're getting this, man."
I'm just imagining the editor watching the dailies of Rob Zombie's Halloween, and you see him, he's what is projecting, and you just hear a gunshot.
You see blood splatter on the thing they're watching it on in the daily.
Judith Meyer's suicide scene in the movie is a tribute to the editor who sadly took his
It's his
life during
brother
the editing process.
Tommy Zombie. He's like the Ted Raimi or something. He's the secret genius behind Devil's Rejects. He's the other Cohen brother. Tommy Zombie, the other. He's like the
Do you
one.
think
He's like, hey Rob, like I have an idea. What if Michael Myers wasn't a disgusting looking, terrible little child?
here's a thought.
An idea. What if we didn't do any of this? I don't know. Like,
We'll
shut up,
just do something else.
shut up, Tommy. Well, that's the
You think
thing.
their mother, when she gets mad, you think when she saw this movie, she's like, Robert Zombie, what have you done?
Robert Bradley Zombie.
He's like, oh, mom,
You're such a cunt.
get your ass to your fucking room, Robert. God damn it.
I like Bucky Toothless coming out. And
Who?
yeah, a Rob Zombie character.
All right.
We did make a short years ago that I didn't think at the time we did it, but we rewatched it recently. It did have that. It was like we were
Yeah,
parodying Rob Zombie, like
that's
that.
exactly what we were doing.
Like it's
It was
dead.
intentional.
So we've gone a little long, so I would like to like let's go through some of your notes
Yes.
and go through the second half so we can kind of get to like the wrap up because I could talk about this for
Yeah,
hours to be honest.
for sure.
But
Real
we're
quick.
just shitting on it with the same thing. So like what are specific
Yes.
things you pointed out?
In the director's cut, the rape scene is disgusting, and not in the typical rape scene way. It's like disgustingly bad writing, where two rednecks just like break in. I think one of them works there, and he brings his cousin who's drinking whiskey. And for some reason, one of the two rapists, they're going to rape an asylum patient, resident, whatever. And it's not Michael. They're raping a woman. And for some reason, one of the rednecks is obsessed with Michael Myers' sexuality. He brings the woman in so they can fuck this woman in front of him and wants Michael Myers to get in on the
Oh, I've seen
action.
that scene. Yeah,
And he's sticking his tongue out like
yeah.
at Michael as he's raping this woman. And I'm not like that's not even a comedic. Like he literally does. It's fucking disgusting. And I know it's supposed to be for some reason. Rob Zombie makes the victims up until Danny Trejo all horrible people, and I get that. But it's just so over the top. It's such a bad idea, and it's just filthy. And I like exploitation movies. I understand rape has a place in art, that you can do that in a way like A Clockwork Orange, going back to Malcolm McDowell's career. I get it. But this is the worst case, most tasteless example of a rape scene in film. Not of all time, but it's a very good
that's a good
example.
point, and the fact that the one thing I like you pointed out is that everybody who gets killed in this film is unsympathetic. So there's no feeling with any of the kills, which is what I think makes it a very uncomfortable movie and its view on violence.
Yeah, because it kind of justifies. I think what he's trying to do is you see him become more evil, so he's eventually killing just strange or
But
teenage
how can you
girls.
have
But
evil
it doesn't
when
work.
there's no good? There's nothing counter
Exactly.
to it, like Lori represents in the original this like virginal purity, intelligence. She doesn't get
Yeah.
to go out with boys. She kind of said to like, "Well, I wish I had a boyfriend," because apparently nobody
Yeah.
wanted to fuck Jamie Lee Curtis in
Well,
1978. I
it,
don't know why, but
she's very endearing with the kid she's babysitting. And in this movie, she, like I said before, she just kind of bullies the kid she's babysitting for no reason. And then in other scenes, she's kind of nice-ish to him in an antagonistic older sister way. But she's just kind of a bitch.
well, his sexism in his work has always stood out to me.
Yeah.
Like, because it's even in Devil's Rejects, the way he interprets women or writes female, and he always makes them victims. It's a
It's such a
very
funny thing because he probably isn't aware of it. Like, there's probably been a point where like Sherry brought it up, and like, Robert, I just the way you write women in your movies, it feels like you have some kind of animosity or something, and he just doesn't.
he's like, shut the fuck up, bitch. You shut no.
Anyhow, I wrote a new rule for you. Fucking whore is her
You
name.
would be a stripper right now in real life if I didn't cast you as one in a fucking movie.
No, get over there and get fucked by Herman Munster. Okay, so this is one thing that really bothers me. Why are Mikey's knife and mask from his childhood buried in the floorboards of his home? As an adult, he comes back and then he digs it up in
Right.
the classic movie fashion. So you're telling me that he killed 3 people in the home as his mother was stripping, and then by time that she gets home, the cops are already on the way. I think he called the cops on himself. It's kind of ambiguous. I'm assuming he might have done that. It doesn't really matter. That's a nitpick. The cops are on the way in any case. But so the floor, he buried the knife and mask, and then he put the floorboards back in place because they're nailed in. What the fuck? That doesn't make sense.
I thought the same thing. I thought the exact same
He just
thing.
wanted that scene of him tearing at the floorboards. That's the only reason it's there. It makes no
He's
sense.
obsessed with the second and the third act. Michael Myers just tearing apart wood, like lumber. Like
Yeah,
there's so many scenes of him just like, because there's only one. If we're gonna talk about shots or moments directing, I will say the chase when they're like going through the place and he's ripped. I think that's the only moment for
it's kind
me,
of exciting.
action wise, that kind of
Yeah.
it's kind of the camera work of it. I think the cinematographer.
I think it's just more suited for zombie style too, where it's just a scare scene. It's just
Well, when I see
relentless.
that, that's kind of the movie I wish he had made if he was going to remake Halloween. I'm like, okay, well, if this is
Yeah.
your version of Mike Myers, it's more aggressive like this. I can deal with that because
Yeah.
it is. I don't want to say it's not scary, but it is. It's like a thrilling moment when he is, because
Yeah.
it's just a little bit of the movie, but when she's running for him and he's just kind of like running
It's like
through
the
a
last
wall.
10 minutes.
Yeah, I think is okay. I don't really think that's that bad.
I honestly have to agree. Um yeah, Laurie Strode has skulls on the back of her hoodie because it's a Rob Zombie movie, so she has to. Um I noted that I think playing John Carpenter's theme over some of the scenes actually felt blasphemous. Oh, there's a line in it. So there's "See anything you like," the girl says, which is from the classic movie, of course, and she shows her tits, and I was honestly kind of like, no, I didn't see anything I like in this movie. And then she says one of the worst lines I've ever heard in a film: "Hey, Casper, the friendly asshole ghost."
That is
For beer,
such a Rob Zombie line.
and
Like
but
you could see them saying that in Devil's Rejects. It's like one of those lines, or like
yes.
House of a Thousand Corpses. And like, what is that doing in a fucking Halloween movie? Why are teenage girls in suburbia saying this stuff?
Well, here's where the scene takes a turn that's honestly pretty kino. She asks for a beer, thinking it's her boyfriend. He's got the sheet over his head, of course, in the scene. And Michael Myers does something shocking. The one truly shocking in the film, he throws her a can of beer. That means that Michael Myers got a beer out of the fridge or out of the boyfriend's hand, but he recognized the beer and he grabbed it. I mean, nobody talks about this, but that is a moment. That is kind of historic.
I've always wanted a version of that scene where it's like the Revenge of the Nerds, where he puts the mask on and rapes a girl, where like he comes to the ghost costume and he has a boner. You see it through the sheet, and then she's like, "Let me take it off," and he's like, ugh. I don't know why she's never like, "How did my boyfriend grow a foot?"
His like knees down or sticking out from the sheet.
He like lifts the sheet up and he's just like.
It'd be a great commercial though if he throws her the beer and then the scene ends.
I'd forget. You're right. I forgot about that he throws the fucking beer. It's like he's down to party.
It makes no sense.
Yeah, what is context be? He's been in a mental hospital for fucking 20 years.
This is a big point though, and the most important of my notes for the second half.
He was like, yeah.
Yeah.
He just parties with these girls.
He goes from the worst Michael Myers to the best.
He kills their boyfriends to hang out with them. That's what this.
He kills the party.
Yeah. He kills all the
crushes
guys.
the beer.
He kills all the guys and then he has all the girls at the end. And...
The second half of the movie and the scene where Michael first commits murder, I believe, is the one scene early on. But it does this thing I hate. It's a pet peeve in movies, which is funny because you're blue right now. But that's a different aesthetic kind of thing. But movies is cheap ass thing where it'll put a blue filter over everything to make it seem more cinematic or professional. And this movie does a lot, and it's particularly grody because it's a fucking Halloween movie. And what color should Halloween be? You can think of like darkness, of course. You can get into orange is a big one, maybe even red, brown, earthy kind of colors. Not blue.
Jesus Christ. I'm in a fucking alien ship right now. I was trying to go to blue and I'm like, oh my God.
Get abducted mid-review. And then an alien...
I'm a star man.
An alien comes out and helps the review. E.T. review movie.
Halloween zombie bad. Oh.
Slut whore.
God.
If Rob Zombie wrote Halloween, that's how he would talk.
Rob Zombie's E.T.
Yes, if he wrote E.T., I apologize. Now that again, I would pay to see Rob Zombie's E.T.
Okay, we're back to the strobe light. Wait, no, we're not.
Okay.
You can keep talking. I'm sorry. Fucking around with the light.
No, it's all good. So let me see. Yeah, the blue thing really bothered me a lot. And
let's just rush through these notes.
Oh yes.
Do these notes like this. Do these notes like the second half of the movie.
Well, I mentioned this. I mentioned earlier the baby. How's the baby grows up to be Scout Taylor Compton, and I realized it's Jaws 4, the revenge tier logic, with the shark knowing where they go. It's the same thing.
The shark has.
There's a funny scene.
The shark has telepathy.
And of course, Rob Zombie ends the movie with a TCM homage. He ends his Halloween remake with an homage to Texas Chainsaw Massacre. And I think that just sums up everything wrong with this movie.
Well, can we talk about the one thing I want to talk about is the ending. Like Loomis comes back into it.
Yeah.
Then he's just gets taken out.
Dressed like he's a bank robber for some reason. It's really weird. He has his jacket, but then he takes it off, and then he's like all black.
I was just robbing a bank. I came to help you, Laurie. You got money in the trunk.
I just happened to be in town.
But the last scene, which I also hate, where she puts the gun, because he's trying to make this a sympathetic relationship or something.
Yeah.
And I wish I was the one getting shot in the fucking face at the end of this. But she puts
I think that
it's one of the part where he puts the hand up, and he's and then she shoots, and then she's like, ah, and then it cuts to the credits, and I think he thought that was gonna be this like oh fuck moment. And it's like, wait, Laurie Strode, because first movie, Loomis shoots Mike Myers, last shot is emptiness. He's gone.
Yeah.
He's out there. This movie literally gets shot point blank in the fucking face.
I want to bring that up too, is that before that, there's a fake out ending where Michael Myers like tackles Laurie Strode off the balcony, and then it cuts to black. It's like, oh, the movie's over. He killed her. Then it comes back for 5 seconds for that little like
it does that
pre-credit stinger.
It does that super bad thing. Or is that the
Yeah,
liquor
which is funny
store?
because it was in theaters at the same time as
I
Superbad. I
think that
remember I was choosing between that or this to see in theaters.
bad choice. Um,
I don't like either, but Superbad would probably be better.
I would say significantly better film than this movie. Well, that's funny because the one that always comes to mind with that trick is High Fidelity when Tim Robbins comes to the store and
Oh,
all that
that's,
stuff.
like, the funniest movie scene of all time.
Yeah, because that technique does
Get
work.
him!
That technique does work because that's even in Superbad. I think about that scene a lot. Is like with with the old lady, and she's like, "Have fun fucking her," and he's like, "Thank you, I will."
Do you know the difference between those 2 movies you listed in Halloween?
They're comedies. I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
Like,
Yeah.
a bit of a different pitch.
Yeah, it's done to be funny and not to take the tension out of a sequence or be a yeah, I didn't think about that. It is such a cheap, shitty fake out that he does
Yeah.
it. It's very gimmicky.
And Mr. Sandman starts playing, which, like, okay, you're gonna do your own thing with the movie, but then he does these tropes from the original movie
It should have
that
been
just
it should have
don't
been
work.
Enter Sandman.
That'd be awesome.
Often never, never, and he tackles her.
Or they could just do Saint Anger. That'd match the
Then
quality of
it
the
comes
film.
back. Yeah. Well, that's what I would say. That would be James Hetfield should be in this movie and Lars Ulrich.
Yes.
Like I want their version of this as opposed to the Rob Zombie version. I'm interested in.
You know Michael Myers would be stalk them in a muscle car.
Well, because Enter Sandman, I know that song started about cradle death or something. That's the origins of the song.
Okay.
It's like a baby dying in a crib and dreaming about the Sandman and then going off to Neverland. So I don't know.
Okay.
Something about that would fit because there's a scene in the 2018. I don't know how I've connected these things, but the 2018 there's the baby in the crib.
Yes.
So there you go. David Gordon
I
Green's a
never put it
Metallica fan.
together, but anytime I see a baby, I do think about Enter Sandman. And
Exit light. You're on the baby. You're
I think the connection is that most babies are better drummers than Lars Ulrich.
There's a little baby on the drum.
Keeping pace with the song.
It's the Ally McBeal baby. Like a 30-year-old reference. I wasn't even like around when that happened. The dancing baby.
You're not gonna believe Metallica's new drummer.
But the ending, which he shoots him in the face and all that's another thing where I think just sums everything up. Like his idea, like because even her getting the like clarity of getting to kill him, I don't get what the meaning is. I don't get what the catharsis
I
is.
do. I have an explanation. You know how in Ghostbusters 2016 they shoot the Ghostbusters logo in the dick and it's like we're killing the franchise. I think similarly, it's a visual metaphor where Rob Zombie, through Laurie Strode, is murdering the Halloween franchise by shooting it in the fucking head.
Do you have anything else?
I have my final rating.
Okay, let's go into that because yeah, I think we're running really
Yeah.
long. Let's go into final
Yeah.
rating. What
I
would
give
you
this movie.
in a summary kind of? What would you
Okay.
if you had to summarize kind of what because now that we've talked more over it, I think I understand it a little bit more than I ever
I
really did.
agree.
Um
I mean, I understand we've said a lot of negative, um, and some of it's kind of funny. Ultimately, I have to give the movie probably 7.5 out of 10. I think it's a really good movie. It's not perfect, but we all have our faults. No, in all seriousness, I give the movie a double swirly. I think the movie is a textbook argument against auteur theory. I think it is so good that, or it's so bad that I'm reconsidering my
right.
thoughts on auteurs and their importance. I wish I really did go into this movie hoping that I would find things to like. I hated it when I first saw it, um, and I don't even know how many years later I feel pretty much exactly the same. Where I thought I had a journey where I grew to accept it more, at least as being its own thing, and I'm right back where I started. I mean, I hate this movie. I'm glad it exists because it's funny and it makes me appreciate the other movies more. I've always said with pumpkin beer, the only reason pumpkin beer exists is so you get it in a variety pack, and all the other beers taste a little better after you drink the pumpkin beer because it tastes so shitty. Rob Zombie's Halloween is the pumpkin beer of the Halloween franchise.
I would piggyback off that. I would give this 2 reps out of a set. Um I think
That's a set of 12, right?
yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, a full set, not the 9, or the 6 to 9, but when you're going sort of a midweight, not
Yeah.
a heavy. Um,
Okay.
I didn't like this movie when it came out. The way I felt about it in 2007, I remembered it like almost exactly. It was very odd rewatching it because I guess what
Yeah.
was upsetting on the rewatch is I thought it would be fun to rewatch it, knowing
Yeah.
it's a bad movie. And it brought out all the same feelings I felt about it, and it was exactly the same as I remembered it. It wasn't a thing where like I was having fun with it now. Maybe if I had a couple beers, like, oh, this is exactly how I felt
Yeah.
then. Which is strange because usually something should get worse or become more charming. Um, but I will say, as us talking over this, I've have more empathy towards Rob Zombie on this than I thought I was gonna have. Um, I do
Mhm.
think I do think there is motivations behind some of the decisions or some of the things he was trying to do. Because when we started talking about alternate ways of this go, I go, "Oh wow, that could have like the different way of doing it."
Well,
Uh,
similarly, not to interrupt with your
yeah.
summary monologue, but I do think, bringing up, like, was Rob Zombie praising the film, the original film, and Carpenter all PRBS? I personally do. I truly believe he is a fan of the movie. I do think he's a horror fan. I do think he had good intentions, and it was just a misfire. I don't think it's that hard to believe that he would enjoy the movie Halloween.
So I wanted to go through this, but obviously there's too many of them where I wanted to like rank the Halloween movies. But let's just say where would you rank this in the Halloween movie so we can make it easier and more concise? Because
Yeah.
I think I hate to say this because I do think there's Halloween films that are worse than this movie. I don't think this is the worst Halloween film
Mhm.
that's been made. I think his sequel to this, which we didn't cover and we don't need Halloween 2, um, isn't worse as it's insulting. It's a worse movie, but I don't know if it's a worse but it's almost is because it's not even a Halloween movie. And I
It's
would
one of
s
those movies where oh, sorry.
and I would say, Resurrection of Michael Myers always is a worse movie
Yeah.
objectively. Not that I enjoy that movie more. I enjoy
That's
watching that
my
movie,
thing.
but I do think it's a worse made film than this film.
Yes, I think Resurrection's so bad it's good in certain points. I think Trick or Treat Motherfucker's funny, and it was the first Halloween movie I saw that was out on VHS, when I was a kid, and I saw that maybe a few days before I saw the original Halloween, so I do have some nostalgia for it. It's a bad movie.
I'd
Um,
even say Curse of Michael Meyer or, which one? The one with Paul Rudd.
Halloween 6, yeah.
I'd say it's a worse movie than this too. Like I enjoy it more, but I think it's a
Yeah,
worse directed, acted, made movie than this movie in a lot of
I
ways.
have a fetish for production hell movies.
Yes.
Halloween 6 is one of those ones for me where they're like a puzzle to try to like piece together from deleted scenes in the script and the final product, the original vision
Yeah.
and what went wrong. So I love Halloween 6, but I love it as a curiosity.
It's fascinating. Well, like
Yeah, that's the thing. I could,
Monster Madness, that was one of James' best ones was the Halloween and how he went into that movie. Because you could spend like
yeah.
hours going down that rabbit hole,
Exactly.
you know.
And, so I have an affection for that one, but I acknowledge, yes, it is not a perfect movie. Um, for me, I haven't seen all of Halloween 2, so I can't judge it accurately from what I've seen of it. It was, not good, I would say. Probably
I
bad.
haven't seen enough. I'm gonna take a guess.
Yeah. I'm just gonna, like, gamble that it's not
I saw
great.
that movie at a fucking drive-in. It was like a Halloween double feature at a drive-in in October, and I saw that movie.
Yeah, it's more like Drive Out. Get away from that movie.
You give your money back. You're like, "Here, you can keep it." You throw the
If you
popcorn.
get in for free, you gotta pay to get out.
Yeah.
Um Yeah, for me, it's the worst of the series. I think I see arguments for it as opposed to like even Halloween 5. I could understand why somebody might rank this above
Oh,
that.
let me make it very
But
clear. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 are much better movies than this. I think by far.
yeah.
I mean, 2 is probably my least favorite out of that group. I actually like Halloween 5. For me,
Mhm.
it would
Yeah,
be
I agree.
I would go 1, 4, 3,
To
5
me,
in that
Halloween 5 is
series.
like a good Friday the 13th movie and a bad Halloween, and I like Friday the 13th movies, so I love Halloween 1, 2, 3, and 4. I think 2 is very uneven and has a lot of problems, but I think the hospital atmosphere, the fact that it takes place in the same night as the original, just little things really help get me through it and enjoy it a
Poorly
lot.
directed though. That's a big issue with
Yes.
that movie.
Well, H2O proves that.
H2O is
And
also a very bad movie, except for like the last 15
yes.
minutes. It's
And
kind of
well, that's the
salvageable.
thing. When 2018 came out, I was like, we have Halloween H2O. We already, what, we're going to bring Laurie Strode back every 10 years to fight Michael, and she just gets older and older. And then after seeing Halloween 2018 the second time, I thought, honestly, I'm never going to watch Halloween H2O again. What's the point? This just does it better.
Yeah.
And I think Jamie Lee Curtis carried H2O. And the ending's amazing. That's how the franchise should have ended. And then we got one last stinker.
Well, people
But yeah,
forget
for
this.
me,
Laurie Strode dies in this franchise.
yes.
She dies in Resurrection. So the fact that they
It's,
reboot it and bring her back, this is the world we live in. There was
she dies between 2 and 4 in a car accident
because
off
I'm with you.
screen.
I like 2018. I think that's a good movie. But it's like when Neil Blomkamp was going to do Alien and be like Newton Hicks
Yeah.
died. This world that we live in, where it's like the Rocky franchise. If they said, okay, Rocky 2, 3, 4 didn't happen, there is no Ivan Drago. So when Creed 2 happens, there's no continuity. I don't like
Yeah.
that they're like, because even if you didn't like the Halloween films, like those sequels, and I get it, it was still, that was the franchise.
Yeah.
That's what it was. They were sequels. And if you were a fan of horror movies and you're a fan of the franchise, and the fact that we can just like, because, okay, fine, you can eliminate some of the bad ones, but
Mhm.
to eliminate then 2, 3, 4, 5, like they
They
don't
do
even.
keep 3. Oddly enough,
I
that's the one
know.
they keep, which I love. I'm
Oh yeah.
happy that we get those Easter eggs with Silver Shamrock.
But that is.
Here's the thing that's going to discredit
I don't like
everything
that
I've said
for
tonight.
sure. I don't like that, and I just wish David Gordon Green
Yeah.
had just made a Halloween movie, maybe, and done
Yeah, and you
something.
could just not even acknowledge the other movies. It doesn't have to undo them. But I don't know. I was against the idea at first. I felt the same way. After watching it, I do understand, especially because I'm thinking about those movies also as like movies teenagers would see or mainstream movies. And I do get that it gets very convoluted past a certain point. Um, I don't love the idea in theory, but I understand why they made that decision. I guess I'll just put it that way. But in terms of ranking the franchise, what will discredit everything I've said tonight is my second favorite Halloween movie is Kills. I think that is a perfect drinking movie. I think it is so fun and entertaining.
That
And
scene where they all gang up to beat the shit
oh
out of
yeah,
Michael,
it's like a kung fu movie.
it's one of the funniest scenes I've ever
It's
seen in a movie.
amazing.
And he like actually takes out a couple people before they take
It's
him.
like borderline reffin. The way it's shot with some of
Anthony
the
Michael
people.
Hall hitting him with the baseball bat.
Evil dies tonight.
Yeah.
No, I think where that was really underrated that I love is that Halloween, the original and the 2018 is based on being a teenager on Halloween. And what Kills does I love is this about being an adult on Halloween. So it's a bar and it's kind of a corny Halloween setup and the talent show. It's almost David Lynch like the talent show part. It had like Twin Peaks vibes in a way. And I I'm not saying it's a perfect movie. I'm not defending it,
Trick or
but I love
treat.
it.
The door opens. What are you supposed to be? I'm a Power Ranger. No, I'm gonna call you something else. You're Apple.
And then he puts little those little shots. You know what I mean? The plastic little
Yeah.
mini alcohols in the jack
He hands
in
them
the
Elephant
bags.
Man bones. This was the Elephant Man. The house, and then the kids are walking around. They're like, "What year is it?"
He wasn't an elephant. He wasn't quite a man.
It's the house from The Return. It's Laura Palmer's house. They go David Lynch. If SNL wasn't terrible, that would be a great sketch. David Lynch Trick or
Yeah.
Treat Halloween. It's
What's
like
funny,
he's got some old candy bar that isn't like a thing. You kids want some Mars
oh yeah.
bars?
It's like some weird like oozy thing that doesn't look like it's made of from Earth.
Are you here with your mother? Can she get naked?
Instead of a door, it's like blue velvet
Yeah.
curtains that he parts.
It's like outer space inside of the door. But you kids want milkshakes.
He hands him a PBR.
He goes to the kids. It's like the Willy Wonka. He's like, "We are the dreamers." we we are the music makers. Yeah, I don't know. This is, I guess, the fascinating thing to talk about because it's so good. We watched, I think it is called Lords of Salem. We watched that together one night, or Witches
Yes,
of
I think
Salem.
so.
We watched that together one night where he was trying to have more of that Argento aesthetic. I remember we commented on that,
Yeah.
and that was a very boring film. And then I don't know if he made anything
Lords of
after that.
Salem was a shallow person
Yeah,
trying to make something deep.
that's
And
what it.
I know a lot of people were saying like this is like The Shining, this is like Suspiria, and it lacked the depth or the intrigue or even the cinematography of all those,
I
but it was
remember
like
the
a poor
Suspiria
pastiche of
comparisons
them.
was everybody at the time was like saying it was like
Yeah.
it's funny how horror fans now are always wrong about some film being good. Every time.
Oh yeah.
Every time it's like every time there's hype for that new horror movie coming out, everyone's like, "No, it follows as the Babadook, The
It's so
Witch."
funny because like when I see like mixed reviews on Rotten Tomatoes, I'm like, this is probably gonna be lit.
Oh, Gavin talked about that when like a movie has like 95% on Rotten Tomatoes, and then like when a movie's got 25%, you're like, "This is gonna kick ass."
Yeah.
Because that's how it is with film critics now anymore. When people, it was that Billy
Yeah.
Eichner thing with Bros, where he was
Bros.
pointing out the Rotten Tomato, and it's like, dude, that has no merit to me whatsoever.
It just shows how out of touch he is.
That you think that critics that were never going to give this film a negative review, these
No,
hack,
it'd be career
yeah, it's
suicide.
not like it's Pauline Kael. These are like hack vloggers of websites. These are like Collider, Screen Junkie
Yeah.
type people. It's like,
Let's not rag on Collider.
but but they're supposed to be like, oh well, they all loved your movie, so now it's a good. It's like, listen, we don't live in that world of critical analysis. That
No, not anymore.
that world's over. Yeah, we probably were in the last era of that when we were teenagers.
Yeah.
Where it still mattered if a film got good or bad reviews, and you kind of followed the critical reception.
George Orwell has a quote about I forget what it was. If it's journalism and you're not uh basically journalism at a certain point just becomes PR. I forget the exact quote. And that's how I feel about reviews at this point is that they're so maybe it's uncritical journalism is just PR. And that's what reviews are now. It's just PR for movie studios.
100%. Yeah, they just want to promote it. But I don't know if he made anything again after that or didn't pay attention to it. I think he did some animated thing.
He did 31 it was called. I don't know anything about it other than the
That's
title,
right. I remember that, the
but I know
title.
it was called 31.
And then he did recently Monsters, which is out, and I think on Peacock
Mhm.
or somewhere. And apparently it's not very good.
Actually, I watched it.
You did?
Yeah.
H-
Yeah, it was really good.
Oh, okay. Never mind.
Yeah, no, I strongly recommend Rob Zombie's Monsters. It's a
12
great
reps out
movie.
of 12 bench presses.
No, I tried to watch clips of it, but I could only find like one, and it was like 20 seconds, and it was like a nothing clip where it's like, "Hey, can someone pass me the scissors? Here they are." And it's like that kind of like thing was like, "That's gonna sell your movie. That's what you chose to market this."
But I guess the thing that's insane about this, I think about it, I don't rewatch Devil's Rejects often. And
Mhm.
I do think it's because of Rob Zombie's career and how I feel about him. I think
Yeah.
how I felt about the movie at the time. And it's still positive in my head. I still like the movie in my head. But I guess the thing to take away from this is just like now that we're in a new era and the new Halloween films are out and they're successful. I mean, Halloween Kills didn't get good reviews like Halloween did,
Yeah.
but it made money still.
I think it made less movie as well,
It made less movie.
or less money. Sorry.
But you're wearing a suit. Yeah, but yeah, it did, but it still made money. It made like because he's making them for like $15 million. It made like
Yeah.
$130 million. But just I hope at some point we can go back and look at Friday the 13th and Nightmare on Elm Street remakes and just kind of go back to this era because we see how the Halloween franchise is back now, and yet these other franchises are still dead in the
Mhm.
water.
It's
Uh,
been rights issues too. Is the weirdest thing about it.
it has been
Like,
right.
you would think if you had the rights to this major franchise that has tons of merchandising, video game potential, TV series potential, movie potential. Like, I remember back before Platinum Dunes got the rights to Friday the 13th Texas Chainsaw Nightmare, you had comic books, you had novelizations and books in bookstores, you had the movies, you had toys, t-shirts.
Yeah.
Now, they just died overnight. They had the remake, and it was like, oh, they're coming back. They didn't. It was a death rattle.
Well, that was part of the horror community. That was a big part. Even, the action figures, the merchandise, the T-shirts. I mean,
Yeah.
one thing I remember early on, when we first became friends, was you were, I think you were starting to transition into watching kind of more films and certain things, but you were clearly very much
Mhm.
a horror guy. Like you had a lot of
Yeah.
shirts that were horror. Your knowledge was very much in that. You knew a lot about that. You knew like a lot about Nightmare on Elm Street, you know.
Yeah.
The fact where I think you had even written like fan fiction and you had a
That's possible.
I can't totally remember, but I think you wrote like you wrote a script or something, or you'd written
Yeah.
something for Nightmare on Elm Street. But it used to be. I used to enjoy being part, and I know some of it you could say is like getting older because like obviously I don't like being in comic book culture like I did pre
Really.
pre Marvel. But the horror thing, it's just is it weird to say that I'm kind of nostalgic for the time when Rob Zombie's Halloween came out in 2000s, like that
It
era,
makes sense. Well,
like
I definitely agree. It didn't, like I said, for me, this was the first time that I really started to doubt Hollywood more and became more critical with movies where I was watching something. Because at a certain age, let's be real, like we all want to act like we have perfect taste all through life, but when you're like 10 or 11, you like most movies that are entertaining to you.
mm,
This was the first time that I ever remember being critical of a movie like this, where I didn't just enjoy it based on, oh, it's, about swears and killing or something like that. I think there's a lot more hope for the genre back then. Even with the remakes, it felt like a phase that we would get through. I don't consider myself a horror fan anymore in the sense of the community of horror fans.
yeah,
I don't subscribe to the like Bloody Disgusting, Dread Central. I unsubscribe from. They basically said at a certain point, like, hey, if you don't like Get Out, if you don't like, I think Revenge it was called. It was like a female kind of horror movie. If you don't like whatever trendy progressive movies coming out, whether regardless of the quality, because horror is a progressive genre, it always has been. You don't get people like Clive Barker in romantic comedy. You don't get stuff like even Scream. People don't give it credit as like a Heather's type feminist movie. You don't get that in other genres the same. So it's not as though it's a bunch of like right wing Nazis that were trolling the comments on these sites. But they basically said if you're not going with every trendy movie that we're just going to suck the dick of, then we don't want you. And I was like, fine, I'm not going to give you clicks. I'm not going to comment because that's what you want me to do. I'm done with you. And I think the horror fans became very pretentious. They would say, if you don't like the newest trendy art house movie, it's because you're too fucking stupid to understand it. That's the only possible reason you didn't love this masterpiece. And that's it. And so I basically just pieced out. And I
well,
enjoy horror movies, but it's nostalgia.
well, I feel like that Criterion Collection culture. I feel like when the
Yes.
A24 horror movie became a thing. It's like that community it's like when the normies when the normies embrace Criterion, then
Yeah.
they took over the horror community, and that's where we're at now. Where even right now, two movies are out, and I haven't seen either one. I want to say that, but like Barbarian getting rave
Hmm.
reviews, Smile getting very positive reviews. It's like every horror film now gets good reviews. Bodies, Bodies, Bodies with
Yeah.
Pete Davidson. All these movies have like 90% on Rotten Tomatoes, and like they do well, and you would think this was kinda like what we always wanted, like,
Yeah.
"Oh, finally, it's a respected genre," because critics shit on it for, like, decades. And now the ones that they're praising, but I always say, you have to remember, these are the same people that gave, like, Dream Warriors bad reviews, that gave the Friday the 13th films bad reviews,
Exactly.
that, like, these were the same people that back in the day said this stuff was all exploitation, that it was bad, that it was just for teenagers, and then the lasting power of these things stayed. And now everybody's on the bandwagon, so if anybody attempts to do, I think, anything that's kinda retro horror, especially in the synthwave horror era that we
Hmm.
exist in, you pretty much get a pass. And I don't think it's evolving the form. Um, and the lack of form evolution, I think, is uh almost it's the antithesis of horror. Like horror should be evolving, and growing as a genre. And I feel like now the reason it's stuck is because it's in this like weird nebulous like even David Gordon Green's
Yeah.
Halloween, it's very retro. It's a retro pastiche
Yeah.
with some modernity with the modern Laurie Strode. That's the only kind of
I
element.
heard a great quote once on 4chan. It was visionaries look to the future, hacks look to the past.
Yeah.
And of course, we all take influence from past. I mean, it'd be absurd to imply otherwise. But I do think that is a cancer. I think nostalgia is a cancer in our current culture, and nostalgia is a part of culture. That's okay, but it's needed to be in moderation.
Yeah.
And I think we're rejecting the present in favor of this idealized version of the past that never even existed.
Yeah, exactly. These weren't respected films back in the day, and then now all of a sudden,
We thought critics got better, but the movies just got worse.
yeah. All right. Well, that was Rob Zombie's Halloween. I will not be
Yes.
revisiting it anytime soon. Probably after this.
I don't think I liked it.
But now that we've done the negative dip, the next episode we're gonna go in the total opposite direction, where we're gonna talk about
Yeah.
maybe my second favorite film of all time. I'm sure it's in one of your top lists, is American Werewolf in London. So we're gonna go the opposite. So
Yes.
look out for that in episode 2. This is the first episode to have a visual element. We originally kind of had this template idea. Right now we're just doing the dual screen. Um, as you see, this is gonna evolve over time. So anybody who's watching this, we are totally good with feedback from the community or anyone who's
As long as it's positive.
yeah, you can only say nice things. But just you guys suggesting movies or asking movie questions. I would like to have a segment in this where we answer movie questions for people who just have things like, "Hey, why do you think this happened?" or blah blah blah, or "What do you think about this genre, this filmmaker?"
Mhm.
So that's going to be part of this going forward. It's not always going to be horror movies, so I don't want people to think this is like a horror movie thing, because it's not. Eventually, we're going to try to rotate guests in and do interviews. I already have a couple people I've talked to, and just sort of kind of. Uh, there's a lot of ideas bouncing around. Like there's going to be themes
I
too.
mean, can I give a teaser?
Yeah,
I mean, I know you've been negotiating with Ridley Scott
it's
about an
true.
interview.
I've been
I mean,
sending.
that's just something.
I've been sending him whiskey. As kind of a way to start it in, and it turns out that's all you need to do.
No,
Um,
I've been sweet talking Francis Ford Coppola for about a week now, and I think it's looking good.
we talk about Twixt. Well, what is a vampire but a witch that sucks blood?
Do you know that for that movie, his original pitch, I didn't know this before, and it's fascinating. He wanted the scenes to be filmed like he was remixing the film for live audiences, playing the scenes in different orders,
Yeah,
and
I
each
remember
viewing was a different.
that.
That's really interesting. It's too bad that every scene in it's shitty, because if they were good scenes, that could be really
I think
cool.
everybody had a little bit too much of the Coppola wine. But we're gonna keep trying to evolve this in the form. As you see, this episode's already longer, and not just longer; it's a visual element. Um,
Mhm.
we talked about like we want to do the whole Rocky franchise. Some of those might be 4-hour episodes. You know. But yeah, look out for American Werewolf in London. Please subscribe. Please leave a comment and give us feedback on things that we said. Tell us what you think about the movie. I doubt we're gonna get a lot of Rob Zombie stands jumping in to defend this. I don't think they exist like they used to. And any kind of donation you can give on that donation button, just to help the show out, would be very nice, because we're still kind of figuring out our audio equipment and camera
Yeah, and
equipment.
if so far we've been reposting this on your channel as well as mine. So if you're listening on my channel, which is unlikely, go over to his. I'll include a link and subscribe to Pat's channel, Chad's channel, and donate
Yeah,
over there
I
because I
don't.
don't want your money. He
Yeah,
does.
yeah. Well, if it ended up being enough, I'd give
Yeah.
you like 5% of the gross.
Oh wow.
That would be funny if we ever got to a point where this is making like we're like Cumtown or something, or Tim Dillon, and we make like $1 million a year, and I just give you like you're my
Like
employee.
100.
Yeah, I give you $100 a week. I keep the
That'd be
rest.
fine.
I keep the rest of the $1 million. Like you can't quit your job, and I'm doing this full time.
That would be fine with me. It wouldn't make a difference. I'm just happy to have the talks.
I am too. Yeah, I know we were talking crap and all that, but I want to say that I appreciate your thought that you put into the notes, and I appreciate you rewatching this for this. You could
It
have
was not easy.
you could have done something more with your time. So I appreciate that, and we never talked about this movie much when we were hanging out a lot back in the day. So it was actually fun to hear your perspective on it,
Well,
because we kind
it's
of
hard to
ignored
discuss
it.
trauma.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah, you're right.
some things you just don't bring up casually in conversation. And I would say Rob Zombie's Halloween is one of them.
Yeah. But thank you for everyone for watching, and look out for episode 3 coming next week. This is going to be a weekly podcast, unless something happens.
But if I lay down and I play dead and I stay dead, then will you get bored of killing me? Then will you get bored of killing me? Then will you get bored?